Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another night of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It is Thursday, October 29th. Now, we got a big show tonight. Game of the generation. This generation is only ending because SDGC says it does, right? And tonight, we're going to talk about the 50 best games of this generation. But before we do that, a quick word on voting. Next week is one of the most important presidential elections, probably actually the most important presidential election of our lifetime. And it is imperative that you get out there and make your voice be heard, get out there and vote. If you're doing a mail-in ballot, take it to go to the polls, go to the actual polls
and drop it off in a drop off. Right? Do not mail it at this point.
Do not mail it. Do not mail it at this point. We cannot trust the USPS at this point. Get out there and vote. Make your voice heard. It's important from all of us. Please do your part. With that being said, I am going to kick it over to Jeff because this is his show. He's running it, and I'm just going to sit back and get wasted.
We're all going to be wasted by the end of this.
Yeah.
All right. So it's been, when did this generation kick off? 2013, November? It's been like a long ass 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years.
Is that a generation? Is 7 years?
I mean, we're just saying from when the PS4 and Xbox One came out.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what this is?
Brittany.
Are you fucking
listen?
Oh, okay.
You
all right, show
games.
over, everybody. We're done.
I can't tell if this is a joke or not.
Listen. All right. It's been a day. It's been a week.
I can't
just let me have this.
I'm so confused.
Brittany, you haven't even started drinking yet, have you?
That's what's the worst part. That's the all right. Well, I'll just
Chad
start. That's a good
Chad
place.
has declared that a generation is actually 30 years, so we're gonna have to revise.
I get it. It's the generation of this. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
That's
Since
perfect.
the launch of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, Nintendo, we don't really know. I guess maybe a little bit of Wii U, a little bit of Switch. They're off in their own little thing. So we don't have a lot of time to waste.
To be fair, all of the Wii U games are Switch games.
Yeah,
that's
basically
true.
Right.
And the rest were just not good. So, shout out to that Mass Effect 3 and Arkham City port or whatever. That had no reason to be on there. All right. So here's how it's going to work. We're going to name our top 50 games of the generation. They are not individually ranked. So we're not concerned with which game's number 16 and which game's number 14.
They're more like tiered,
but we do
right?
have two. Yeah, they're tiered. So we have two distinct groups. We have games 50 through 30, which are kind of like, they're games of the generation. They're amazing games. But then we do have a top 20 where it's like, these games were a notch above those other ones. So we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about each of them. We're going to dive into them a little bit deeper and talk about why they're on here and why we love them, because we're all going to agree on every single game, and there's going to be absolutely no discourse whatsoever tonight. But before we get started, I mean, there's like a shitload of games this generation, probably more games than ever before. Like, there's so many games coming out these days. So we each submitted an honorable mention, basically something that didn't quite make the top 50, but that was really important to us and we felt needs a shout out before we move on to the new consoles in November. So with that being said, we're going to kick it to each person and give them about 30 seconds to just briefly say why this game is on this list and what makes it special. And we're going to start with John, who had PT as an honorable mention.
PT was, in fact, my honorable mention. As everybody knows, I love horror games. I love Silent Hill, and this is the fucking best that I got this gen. PT was an experience that took me about an hour, and it is the only game this gen to cause me to call my wife when I was in the basement and ask her, "Hey, baby, you want to come down and hang out? Just be with me and hang out for a little while and chill, maybe, And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Nah, baby, it's cool. I'm totally cool. I just miss you so much, and I love you, and I want to feel your warm embrace right now, actually. So if you could come hang out." She goes, "Are you scared playing that game?" I was like, No, of course, no. And then Lisa popped up, and I shit my pants. So. Yeah, PT was fucking spectacular. I didn't give it higher than honorable mention because it's not technically a fully fledged game, but it also did atmospheric horror better than literally any other horror game release this gen, in my opinion. So, PT, give it up.
Well said. Well said. All right, we're gonna go to Finn, who's got Days Gone.
I do
It's an
have Days
honorable
Gone, and the fact that it's only an honorable mention just goes to show how solid Sony's first-party offerings were for me this year. We loved Saki and I loved Days Gone because its story swerved you and kind of avoided a lot of the classic cliches that you would expect, and then the actual zombie horde gameplay was just way more fun than it had any right to be. And I platinumed that game. I went from being like, this is okay, and then each story beat ramped up and made it better and better. And by the end, I couldn't get enough of it. So, unfortunately, there was just too many other games that I liked even more. But this gen was just solid. So, Days Gone.
Brittany, you have one final chance to change your mind. What game is your honorable
I
mention?
changed it. Look at the list. I changed it.
Just tell us.
It's Luigi's Mansion 3.
All right.
So
all right.
it was. I had originally Fortnite, just because I thought it was really impactful for this gen, but I switched it to Luigi's Mansion 3 just because I liked it better personally. It was more fun. It was such a good follow up to the Luigi's Mansion series, especially after was it the 3DS or the DS one? Wasn't that great. So this one was good. I loved the music. I loved the gameplay. Even the multiplayer was fun for as long as it lasted. And it looked phenomenal. Like, it looked so fucking good. And that's it. It was just a fun, one of my fun games that I could just sit down with and chill. And it was actually one of the first games I beat in a really long time. So it has a little special place in my heart. So that's mine.
Derek, why don't you tell us about Persona 5?
Yeah.
Take your time.
So Persona 5 definitely, I think what do I want to say? The honeymoon period wore off for a lot of people in the aftermath. And it's still a great JRPG, but a lot of us have kind of tread to death over like the pacing issues that it has, the couple pieces of problematic content in there. But I still think Persona 5 does so much right. It has such a good cast of characters. It tells a very good story. It is easily one of the slickest and most stylish games, aesthetically, artistically, musically, in terms of UI design. Like, every aspect of it is just dripping in good and stylish design choices. And I also think that Persona 5 deserves a mention for how well it captures the kind of social and political attitudes of millennials and Gen Z broadly. Persona 5 is very much about millennial rage. It is very much about this kind of burn it down attitude that a lot of us have slowly and maybe even uncomfortably grown to feel about the older generations, about political establishments, about the fabric of our society, and it just being too slow to get shit fixed. Persona 5 is very much about like, hey, what if people who were pissed off about this stuff actually had the ability to force that kind of change? What if you could force a rapist to turn themselves in? What if you could force, an immoral, business owner to fix their business practices and turn themselves in for, the labor law violations that happen at way too many fucking stuff like that. And it is weird to me that more games more pieces of media don't get that as well as Persona 5 does. So I think that's what makes it special.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's going to be on the that PS collection, I think, coming out with the PlayStation 5 as well. So you haven't had a chance to play it, I can definitely grab it there. Justin's honorable mention is a niche indie game called Destiny from a small
Yeah. Tell me
small
about
team of
Destiny. I've
developers
been
over at
hearing
Bungie.
so about it.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be the next big thing.
technically, it is an indie game now. That is true.
Yeah, no, he's right.
Yeah. So actually, I had actually considered this making a game of the generation option just because of the sheer impact that it's had on the game industry and kind of how it's kind of continually been a part of my gaming life this generation. I have been playing Destiny since the first alpha back in summer of 2014. I think this type of game is really interesting because we've seen so many other developers try to really copy this format of like this semi MMO, co-op, living world type of game. But none have really been as enduring as Destiny. And the reason I just put it on honorable mention is because it's had so many ups and downs over the course of the years that like it's really kind of hard to quantify a specific place for me to put it on the list. But I feel like it absolutely has to be mentioned. I'm really excited for the future of it. We're coming out of one of these dark periods in it, but I'm excited to see where it goes. I really hope it's supported for a long time to come. Like, I hope it's like World of Warcraft, where it just doesn't go away and they keep building on it and bringing more people in. Because unlike any other game like it, I've become really attached to my character. I've become really attached to the time I've spent in it. I've made a lot of good friends in it.
The combat's also
keep
just
spending time
really
there.
solid on its own.
Yeah, Bungie's games just don't feel like anything else out there. And I'm so excited to finally be able to play it at 60 FPS with a wide field of view once the next gen update drops this fall. So,
All right, Jeff, that's me. My honorable mention, which may ruffle some feathers, is Metal Gear Solid 5. I understand the disappointment with Metal Gear Solid 5. I understand the problems.
Do you though?
But for me, first of all, I didn't spend years on forums speculating on what might happen and how it might set up the other games. I kind of just went in and took what they gave me. The narrative wasn't the best in the series by far, but I was happy with it. I thought the story, I liked the kind of twist ending. I thought it was interesting, and it was fine. Like I thought it serviced the game well enough. But the reason I love this game isn't for its story. It's for the sandbox. It's for the mechanics. It is by far the best the series has ever played. And one thing the game got a lot of criticism for was the empty open world. But like the open world in this game, I loved. It's not like Witcher 3 where you're supposed to go and find towns and NPCs and like all this shit to like explore and discover. It's just literally an expanded stealth tool or engagement tool for combat. So you can run halfway across the map on your horse and set up an ambush for these tanks that are coming through. And I just love that freedom. I love the base management. At the time, its visuals and performance were amazing. It was just a fantastic presentation all around. And yeah, it sucks that we had to say goodbye to Hater and we got Jack Bauer. But Kojima gonna Kojima. But I put in probably 70 hours. I played it nonstop from front to finish, and a lot of different components of that game have just stuck with me over the years. And if there ever is another Metal Gear Solid, I hope it builds on the foundations from that game, even if they can fix some of the flaws. So
Jeff, I will say this: as somebody who has no shit actually ridden a horse through Afghanistan, it's pretty accurate. There's not a whole lot going on out there, so it's pretty wide open, with not a lot of things happening. So
that's good. We got confirmation.
In that sense, they nailed it.
And then Finn's wife, Saki, not really named Saki. That's just her nickname. So Finn, why don't you tell us what her honorable mention is?
Well, it's not really so much her honorable mention as just this is her pick. She wanted at least one pick because it's the SDGC show, and if Saki can't make it, then who does? And her pick, is Fire Emblem Three Houses. It was her
noble choice.
It was her very first Fire Emblem game ever, and she put in over 100 hours and beat it multiple times doing the different story paths. I was so proud of her. She just the plan was for her to start it and then me to play it, and then she just never gave me the game. She just kept playing, and so she truly loves Fire Emblem, and the world must know.
Awesome. So that's it for those. We're going to get into the top 50 right away, but before we do, we just want to address something off the top. We talk about a lot of the games industry has a lot of problems, right? We all know that. We talk about them as often as we can on the show. We try to bring awareness to them. We simply don't have time to revisit those tonight, but we want to acknowledge that a lot of the games on this list were made by developers, publishers, studios that have problems, whether it's crunch, whether it's working conditions, whether it's sexual harassment, abuse, you name it, the whole gamut, right? And there's studios. I don't want to spoil the games. You know who these studios are, and there's probably a lot that we don't know about. And we've talked about it before, and we will talk about it again when these topics come up and when they're in the news again. And we will never stop pushing for change. But in the interest of time tonight, in the interest of the spirit of this discussion, we are just going to be focusing on the games themselves and the qualities within them. So by no means are we hand waving these away. We just wanted to hit that off the top. So with that said, should we get into the first 5?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's go.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna go through 5 games at a time, and then we're just gonna have like a discussion period after that where you guys can all just yell at each other and scream and do.
Hell yeah, I love it.
Thursday.
Fucking love that shit.
All right. So the first 5 games are Horizon Zero Dawn, Control, The Wolf Among Us.
Wait, what?
Hold on. Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Jackbox.
Jackbox.
Can you just put Jackbox? Like, there's like 18 of those games. Like, which one?
It's a platform.
Is it all of them? Because that costs a lot more than I don't know about that.
Honestly, like Jackbox gave us Pumpkin. So Jackbox is clearly the best out of those 5.
Listen. This
That's a good point about
Jackbox was
Wolf.
my picks. All right.
I mean,
All right, let's talk about Jackbox for a minute.
Oh yeah,
So-
oh yeah.
I
So-
Break
picked
it out.
Jackbox
Oh shit! Here we go.
because
Real quick, we got a problem.
Here we go.
I don't want to name names, but someone on the podcast was confused by what the games of the generation was, and in the chat saying Wolf Among Us
Is last
is
gen.
technically last gen. Okay.
oh, it is.
Oh, we'll give it. It was remastered, I think.
No.
It was released on.
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, it came out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in 2014. I'm gonna count it.
Was that?
I
was
didn't.
that?
I wasn't the one that put it on there.
I
So
didn't play it until this generation. Does that count? Because I did play it on PS4.
We'll give it a pass. We're gonna give it a
Spoiler
pass.
alert: John's
That's
gonna
fine.
bring up Final Fantasy VI fucking anyway. So
Oh fuck yes, I am. Yeah, fuck, you're goddamn right. I am.
So which one are we doing? Jackbox or are we doing the Wolf Among? Like, do I need to swap it
we're
out?
going through.
Defend
all 5.
all
of
We're
them.
just discussing all 5. We haven't talked about any of them yet.
So the reason why I put Jackbox is 1, because all those games are fucking incredibly fun. 2, they are super, super important during quarantine. So many people got together to play it on Zoom, on Discord, whatever. It was just a good come together game. And even before it was a good, even before quarantine, it's like, it's what you did. You go over to somebody's house, you play Jackbox. You invite people over, you play Jackbox. You play with your friends online, Jackbox. It's one of the things where it's like, if you're a board game nerd, this is the way to get your board game fix with your friends that live like out of town. So I love it. It's continuously innovative. So they keep releasing new games. They're fun. I've cried playing them, and it's different every time, like a board game, right? So it's not like a traditional video game where you play, you beat it, and you can go back through it and do different decisions, and ultimately you get the same ending. No, it's everything is different, and there's like 5 games in one game. Like, what am I gonna do? Pick a mini game? No, they're all fucking fantastic. So that is why I chose Jackbox.
Jackbox is like, and Among Us and stuff like that is what Mario Party could have been if Nintendo gave a shit.
Exactly. Mario Party, like,
What a fucking missed
yeah, it
opportunity.
could have been this, but they
Yeah.
instead they give shitty online mode.
we don't talk about Mario Party here.
I will say that
We
in
only talk about
regards to,
Super Mario Party, which was our number 1 pick.
Yeah, I will say that in regards to Control, what was in that list of games?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, it
Control.
was.
If there's any single moment this generation that I wish I could re-experience blind, maybe not necessarily a game, but a moment, it's the Ashtray Maze.
I keep
I
hearing
got
that from
the
people.
fucking
God,
My
Ashtray
dude.
Maze.
I have not
Control
even played
is a
this game
good
yet.
game. It's a very good game, but it is worth it. Even if it was not a good game, it would be worth it just for the fucking Ashtray Maze.
I still have not even played
It's-
this game.
The Ashtray
You gotta,
Maze
dude.
is
You'd
really
love
cool
it.
because somebody just saying the phrase ashtray maze, you'll only know the
immediately
location.
know. You immediately
But
fucking
when
know.
you get to the moment,
You do not
it's
see
not
it coming.
what people are expecting.
No.
And it's one of the coolest fucking gameplay sequences in any game I've ever played. But on top of that, control just fucking rules. I love the vibe of that game. The core gameplay combat loop is so good.
Control was a better
just
Jedi
absolutely
game
one of my
than
favorites.
Star Wars was.
Yeah.
So-
Control,
Ooh,
bro. The
spicy.
ashtray maze was so good it made my ass cheeks clench for like 7 minutes straight. It was incredible.
So when I got to that point, because I had heard about the ashtray maze. So when I actually got to that point, I was like, is it gonna be fucking hard? Like, and I'm not gonna say anything. Like, I'm not gonna say what happens, like, because you just have to experience it for yourself. But when I got to that part, I literally just I paused and I put the controller down and I just started laughing because it was not at all what I was fucking expecting.
It's so
it's
fucking
so
good.
fucking good. And I have
so-
don't get me wrong, I have my issues with Control. I think the story it's not bad, but it's there's a reason why it wasn't in my top 3 games.
It's the
of
first
generation.
season of a web series original that gets canceled in its second season. Like, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Yeah, so the voice acting, I don't really like the main character's voice acting. I'm sorry, I'm sure you all probably love it. I wasn't a fan of it.
Talk about Horizon. Talk about Horizon.
We'll get there.
Horizon's good.
Horizon's good.
It's
We'll get there. We're talking about Control right now.
it's
But
a,
yeah,
Correct.
so I think overall Control is the gameplay is super fucking fun. Like the gameplay alone deserves to be on that list. It is so fucking fun. Like after I beat the game, I immediately purchased DLC just so I could keep leveling up to keep using abilities and get more new abilities and level everything up. It's just so fucking fun.
So like I said, I haven't played this yet. I know that it's available to stream on Switch now. I'm assuming.
John, I
hold
swear,
on,
I will
on.
come over there if you only
Wow.
play a stream.
Wow.
If you just stream
Justin,
Control.
that's a visceral reaction from Justin.
you're
What I
a
was gonna
PS4
say,
pro,
Justin,
John.
Well deserved though.
What I was gonna say was I'm going to play it on PS4 Pro and not Switch, Justin. It's okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
handle
For
this.
what it's
Don't
worth,
worry about it.
Of
I
course,
heard
you
the
had to
cloud
mention,
version
but of course
was
you had
not
to.
bad.
It's probably fine. It's probably fine. I was just kidding. Of course, just John had to mention that. Hey, there's some kind of Switch thing.
Of course,
of
I'm a
it. I
Nintendo.
gotta
I'm
play
a
that
Nintendo
version.
guy. What do you want from me?
I also want to give a shout out to the janitor because he was the best character in that game.
Audi rules.
He was so good.
I think I want to say a quick word on Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yes, me too.
Because I am a relatively recent convert to Pokemon. And I went back and played Sapphire and Omega Ruby and Black and Silver. I went back and kind of retroactively played everything. Sword and Shield. And we have to talk about the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, which is something that Pokemon has never done, like actual DLC campaigns. I love this way. I love the direction that Game Freak is taking this, and I think this is probably going to be the model for Pokemon going forward. I really hope it is, because I would love for there to be just one Pokemon platform with continual updates and continual additions. I think add regions as they come, you've got Galar now.
Get out of here.
That's what I would love it personally.
No, not you, Derek shaking his head.
It's not happening, bub. It's not happening.
No.
Probably not. But at the same time, I'm going through Crown Tundra right now, and no, from the chat, no, I have not fucking caught Registeel yet. But but I will say that Crown Tundra is so much better and so much more satisfying than Isle of Armor is. And there's an actual story behind it. It's long. There's a lot to it. It's got a cool
The
himbo.
exploring, that's what
Right.
I've been. So if y'all don't know, I live in New Orleans area, and I was without power last night and a good chunk of this morning, and that's all I did was play Pokemon. And the Crown Tundra, it's so big to explore,
It's
and
really big.
where like the Isle of Armor was tiny. You go
And
to
you
two
could-
towers,
you
like
could finish the Isle of Armor in like an hour.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there wasn't much
So,
to it.
I love the Crown Tundra because there's so much to do. Like, not only story wise, but like side quests, catching new Pokemon. Like, it's so good. And it makes you revisit like the other,
Yeah.
the 3 legendary birds. You have to go back to the starting area and the previous expansion. So it's just really cool how they did it. Like, it's the first Pokemon game to have DLC, so to have DLC and make you go revisit places is really cool.
Right.
Um,
It makes Galar feel more like a living, breathing region
Yes.
than anything else.
It breathes life into the series. Like,
It really does.
Pokemon doesn't just feel so like, I don't know, like single. I don't know. You play a Pokemon game and it's like, okay, great, we're gonna be in this world. Like, we're never gonna visit it again. Whereas Galar region, you keep going to new places. So.
That's
Finn, you wanted to say something about Horizon
Yeah,
Zero Dawn.
Finn
We
wants
haven't
to talk
talked
about
that
Horizon.
much.
I mean, I love me some Horizon, and if Brittany hadn't picked this game like an absolute champ, then I probably would have had it on my list. I just the story of
bumped it.
Aloy fighting robot dinosaurs, the twist at the end, and just every plot reveal about how that world came to be was just phenomenal. And we were just talking
Aloy
about
was
the
such a good character
She
too.
really was.
and the quality of Pokemon's expansions are amazing, but you know what? Horizon had an incredible piece of DLC, and so it's very rare for me to go back into a game after I'm done with it, and I definitely did with Aloy. So,
And you know what, Finn, like, I'm
I
sorry, Justin, go ahead, please.
Horizon is one of those games that from the second we got like leaked concept art from it, something about it just kind of captured my imagination. Like, this was something that was ripped from my like dreams and brought real. And I remember just being so impressed with the reveal of it, because I still think it's one of the best game reveals that I've ever seen. It had, an initial kind of mysterious trailer section. Then it cut right to gameplay, and that gameplay was Aloy fighting a Thunderjaw, which is a giant robot T-Rex.
Which is the
Like, they didn't
enemy
they
you fight
didn't-
in the game. It's so funny.
Yeah, they didn't save that. They showed us that right off the bat, and then they showed some more like story stuff right afterwards. And like, just the design of the machines is so complex. There's so many different ways to take them on. The way they animate is amazing because they look like convincing enough like animals, but just mechanical enough that you can tell that they're not natural.
There are a few things
the
more satisfying
size of
than
them
blasting
is incredible.
a cannon off a robot T-Rex, picking it up and firing it right into its fucking mouth. Like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
plus, like Justin and Finn specifically, this was the first game that I played on PS4 that really made me go, okay, this is next gen shit right here. Like, this is the next generation. It was one of the most beautiful games I had ever seen up to that point.
I think the thing I loved about it, I mean, the gameplay is good, but like, if you guys know me, like I mostly play games for the story. The gameplay's just kind of there, and I was really interested in how the world came to be and what happened to get to this point. And I don't honestly, audio logs and shit usually bores me to tears in games. I could not give a shit about finding an audio recording somewhere. But the ones in Horizon, I don't know if it was the delivery on the voice acting or the writing. But I found them absolutely fascinating, and it felt like reading a book. Like, when I read a book, I can get a very clear image in my head and what happened. And I love that the game never actually showed you a flashback to what happened. It was all told through like holograms or audio diaries and things like this. And yet I still have a crystal clear picture of how that went down. And it was so haunting and so well done. And I just it made those reveals just hit even harder.
Shout out to Apaka Shitstorm.
And on one note with that is, there's one log that describes why we have giant robot dinosaurs, and they somehow managed to write it in a way that it made me emotional for why these exist.
Yeah.
And I never expected it to be anything other than oh, we gotta put in giant fucking robot dinosaurs. Like they actually made it really relevant
Right.
and really poignant, and I loved
That
it.
story
So,
hit me a lot harder than I thought it was going to. It really did.
absolutely.
incredible game. Incredible game. I can't wait for the next one.
So I'm just gonna say a real quick bit on it, and then we can go to what's next. So I'm the type of person that I get more excited about remakes than I do actual games. Like I have to actually play a game for me to like get into it. I can't watch a trailer of a new game and be excited. But Horizon is the one trailer that I watched. It had a female character. She fucking shot bows and arrows. Like I immediately was like, oh my god, I need to play this game. So when it came out at the same time as Mass Effect Andromeda. So I played Andromeda first. And then notice that's not on my list. I played Andromeda first, and then I played Horizon I think afterwards. And Horizon, so Aloy as a character is fucking wonderful, especially as a female character, because she's there. There's no love interest. There's no like she's just a character, and she doesn't feel like the female character, you know? She feels like a main character without having all those attachments to her. So that's what I really loved, was having a female character that wasn't just the side character or the girl with big boobs and no armors. Like she was dressed like a character would be in that world, and it was so fucking refreshing to have something like that. You know, you have like Tomb Raider and stuff, but she still got like skin tight clothes. So, but Horizon did it good, and it was just refreshing to have that out of a female character. So that is why it's on my list.
Well said. All right.
Not just why, but everybody else listed why. But
No, very, very well said. I mean, the sequel looks amazing, so hopefully it can live up to the legacy of the first game. All right, so our next 5 games are going to be Doom Eternal, not Doom 2016, interesting. Doom Eternal, What Remains of Edith Finch, Until Dawn, The Missing, there's a subtitle there that I'm not going to read because it's really long, and Tales from the Borderlands.
Okay, so this 5 is just all my 5, I guess. Literally, these are all mine.
these were mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. That's how we're doing it. All right.
We gotta talk about Until Dawn. We gotta talk about Until Dawn.
We
Until
didn't talk
Dawn
about
was
Wolf
such
Among
a-
Us, but it's fine. We can
Yeah.
go.
I mean,
Until
that's a
Dawn was
lot-
such a surprise.
This-
Like
it
nobody saw
really
it coming,
was.
Such a.
and it just came out.
It was a
and-
game that was
oh.
just like. It was like when it was announced, it was like, oh, okay, there's just gonna be some kind of, like Quantic Dream style game that's a slasher. And then it came out and everyone's like, holy crap. Like it took what Quantic Dream kind of started and made it so much better.
It's like if Quantic Dream was
the
good.
character writing, yeah, the character writing was so good. It was so entertaining. And the twist they throw in, partway through is so good. There's so many different ways for things to play out. And the moments where it's just like, hold still, and like you're in the middle of like getting chased, but your character's hiding, and you have to hold the controller as still as possible, or else they like fall out of the closet that they're hiding in or something, or make a noise and get caught. There's such great moments. Like that game, just I'm been a big horror fan for a long time, and like it did both slasher and then the late game stuff, which I don't want to spoil if you.
Plus,
haven't
I
played
just
it,
want to
because
say
this game's gonna be in the PlayStation Plus collection if you get a PS5. So
Plus,
if you haven't checked it out, as long as you have a sub to Plus,
I have
you can
not
play
played
it. It's
it.
one of the 20-something games that are on
the
there.
only disadvantage to this thing being on PlayStation 5 for PS
No
Plus
camera?
is that it loses that really cinematic feel that the frame rate has. Like it.
You mean running between
I'm gonna
like 40 and
punch you.
50?
directly
best-
in the Adam's apple, John.
Do it.
best
You can
thing
actually
about
do that
Until
next
Dawn-
week. So please do
So,
it.
the best thing about Until Dawn was that the camera captured your reaction at certain moments and didn't tell you it was going to.
What camera?
If you have a PlayStation
PlayStation.
camera.
If you have the PlayStation
okay.
It
camera,
records your reactions during certain jump scares. So I was treated to my extremely ridiculous scared reaction, which I was not expecting to see. And let me tell you, it was not graceful.
I
what was
thought
it?
it was gonna be like a super cheesy game, and like it kind of was, but it didn't take itself seriously. But like it was actually just really fucking good. Like there was some genuine creepy shit in there, and I don't know, it wasn't at all what I was expecting in a good way.
It was just so much more clever than I thought it was going to be, and I loved it for that. So these are all mine, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yo,
What
let's
were
talk.
the other ones?
Justin, I think me and you might be the only people here who played The Missing. JJ Macfield and the Island of Lost
Okay,
Memories.
probably.
I barely have.
I want to talk about that one too.
Yeah.
I'm in
that
the
was a game.
credits.
That was that was the first game I ever got to review. And I remember I was struggling with what I was going to do with that review for a while because I thought parts of it were frustrating, performance was bad. There were some really good story beats, but I felt, kind of mixed on it. And then I got to the ending and I was full on bawling
Ugly
while playing
tears.
this.
Ugly tears.
Just like an hour straight. I have hardly any piece of fiction has made me cry the way that The Missing does. And that game opens up with, a statement. It's like, this game was made with the belief that no one is wrong for being who they are. And it really sells it.
Absolutely.
And once you realize, just the thought that's been put into a lot of the themes and symbolism and stuff, and it all comes together, it's such a brilliant game. And I thought it was a really important game. And it was one of the most emotional games of the generation for me. It's something that I'm not going to forget. And I think it deserved a shout out.
Yeah. It's just a beautiful game. It's a bit janky and a bit weird to play. It's kind of just a weird indie, walky,
violent
kind
puzzle
of game.
Platformer.
But
yeah,
Violent
but
puzzle platform.
yeah, but I mean the ending really puts a lot of it into context, and it's just it's suddenly like everything snaps into place in a very oh fuck way that you might see coming. It's not like it's impossible to see, but it's very much like a twist. I look, I don't want to say too much. It's very good. You should play it. It is well worth the journey.
I love that. I
okay.
love that Tales from the Borderlands is on here. Games try to be funny, and a lot of times I just find that they aren't. But Tales from the Borderlands is genuinely funny. I think it's. I really like actually Telltale's take on Batman, but Tales from the Borderlands is I think still their best game. And
I would agree with that.
It's the only time Borderlands has been funny.
yeah, I mean,
Oh.
going into this, I was like, I don't give a shit about Borderlands. I'm like, holy fuck, I cried during this game. It's just so good.
I never played
so
Tales.
good.
I wanted to, but I never did. I might have
It's
liked
good.
3
It-
better
you
if
still
I
can.
actually.
I had to put it on here because I think it's the funniest,
I-
pure comedy game that I've
This
ever
might be a
played.
stupid question.
There-
This might be a stupid question. I literally can't remember. It's been years since I played it. Was Vasquez voiced by Patrick Warburton?
Yes.
he was. God, I'm a huge Patrick Warburton
It's-
fan. Yeah.
How could you not be?
The whole game, it's really hilarious. And I before Borderlands 3, I think Borderlands 3 was kind of a shark jumping moment for the writing in the series, but I kind of defended it for a while before then. But Tales actually really it doesn't feel out of place for Borderlands. That's the thing that's so impressive, is it totally works for the themes and the tone that series usually goes for. It's just incredibly fucking clever, funny, amazing voice performances. The timing of all the lines is great. It's a delight to play through. It's so funny. And
Every
I
single
love it.
character is so good. Scooter, man. Who would have thought we'd give a shit about Scooter?
It's a shame that Chris Hardwick turned out to be a complete piece of shit. But otherwise,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what ruined.
Yeah, but we said we
Yeah.
weren't from
Yep.
that unfortunate stuff.
That's endemic to the game industry. There is no ethical consumption of
Yeah, well,
capitalism,
I
and
think
there
there's
is
a
no
few
ethical
games-
gaming under the gaming
I
industry.
feel like there's a few games on this list that we can go down. All right, let's-
Before we switch,
Okay.
I just want to say Big B Wolf is one of the hottest protagonists ever.
Big B
ever. I
Wolf
love
can
Big
get
B.
it and give it.
Yeah, exactly. Big B Yeah.
Are you talking about his wolf form or his normal form?
I mean, I'm
I
not
mean
gonna be
human
picky.
form, but I am
I
not here to
mean-
judge the furries. Okay, they have
Nope,
their shit.
neither
I'm not
am I.
totally into it, but I'm
We
not
are
into.
an inclusive
But I'm not into
crowd,
feet
we
either,
love
and some
all.
people are, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Tales from the Borderlands and Wolf Among Us are my two favorite Telltale games. So, but I just put down Tales
Thank
because
you.
it hadn't been mentioned
Thank
yet.
you,
so.
Finn. That is
Okay.
the only
You're
video game that has made me want to go read a comic.
Ooh.
All right. So
we should
another
talk
one that
about-
was
Yeah, go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
that was. So I'm just gonna go to the next one. What Remains of Edith Finch?
Oh.
This game actually came up really high on our best games of all time list.
Yeah.
This
games
is a
that
game
break
that
you. I mean, holy shit.
Yeah. This is a game that kind of takes game narratives being an endless parade of death and puts it into such a meaningful context. And there's a level of beauty and optimism in how this game looks at death
You
and
keep
familial
playing because you want it to
relationships.
get better.
and like familial relationships. And it's just, it's really, really, again, this is just one that's really, really, really special to me.
I actually started
this is
playing
one.
this game because I watched Derek and Martha stream it.
Oh
And I actually left the stream because I wanted to experience it for myself. And I did. And it like because I went home and I was like, this is a game I need to play. I didn't even know it existed until Derek streamed it. So shout out to Derek for giving me the
Yo, the cannery and Edith
notification.
Finch is a fucking masterclass in storytelling.
I agree with you, but as a father, the bathtub
That's a rough one too.
really.
Oh,
so
it's a,
I
on
a
the
hard game
flip
to talk
side,
about.
when you are a shark rolling down a snow hill,
Oh, it's so
that
good.
is so good.
It's a really hard
The
to
game,
talk about without spoiling anything. That's
I don't want to
but
spoil it, but there's one moment where there's a music cue that popped
Right.
up, and they got an official licensed song
Yes.
at one point that is used so
I know
well,
exactly
and
what
it
you're
just
talking
put a
about.
huge smile on my face. Like, every level of this game plays different. It uses the medium of video games
such a
really,
good
really
game.
well. There's a lot of variety in how you interact with every level. It's not hard, it's a narrative based thing. I don't even know if there's real fail states or anything, but there's a lot of room for experimentation. It's probably like 3 hours long, I would say.
If that, you can play it in a single player.
You could play it in a single session, and I highly recommend you do it.
Absolutely.
because
It's one of those games that you just have
it
to
really
experience for
sticks
yourself.
Everybody knows that I love to replay games that mean a lot to me, like Final Fantasy VI. There it is, or Chrono Trigger, or like I.
Wait, are you just trying to get your quota in with this right now?
Well, no, I just not in this instance. I just took the advantage. Resident Evil 4, I play every year. Uncharted 3, I play constantly. But as much as I loved What Remains of Edith Finch, I never want to play it again because it would.
You don't need to.
Well, it would. I feel like it would lessen the impact that it had on me the one time that I played it. After I finished it, I sat there. And like a quick shout out to the soundtrack in this game. Jesus, talk about mood setting. But I sat there and listened to that music in the dark for an hour and just thought about what I had seen and experienced. And that was when, like, I know this is cliched and hokey to say, but that I mean, it just reinforced the fact to me that video games are in fact art. And what Remains of Edith Finch is a prime example of an art form.
Nailed it.
There are and because it hit me harder emotionally than any movie ever has, because in a film you are a passive observer, in a video game you are an active participant, and so and to be a part of that world and this family and their tragedy just completely overwhelmed me. What
All right,
it's the
Okay,
master
so
class.
my last one is Doom Eternal. And I think I might be the only one that loves it as much
No,
here. So I was just
fucking love
playing
Doom Eternal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was playing the DLC this week. Hard as fuck DLC, by the way.
Well,
But
Justin.
it's awesome. So this game is, I think, the closest thing that first-person shooters have had to like a character action game. The way it flows is so different. You're managing your chainsaw, your flamethrower, your freeze grenades, your glory kills
Your
on top
blood
of ammo,
punch.
and what? Yeah, blood punch. Yeah, like, it's so over the top and silly, but the sense of locomotion and speed and just the way combat flows is outstanding. There's nothing else like it. I immediately just get into this zone where I'm moving faster than I do in any other game. I am spinning around and shooting enemies faster than I ever have before. I'm switching weapons. It's almost subconscious. I'm not paying attention to what the actual cooldowns are because I know and can feel when they're gonna appear. Like there's platforming, there's climbing, and it's just it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, well, I was
but
gonna
if
say,
it clicks,
it's funny
it's
that you say
wonderful.
that because just like reading your tweets about it, like you've been so frustrated, but it's one of those things where you cannot put down. So it's like I see
Oh,
you
yeah,
and you're
no.
like, oh God, like this is hard. I shouldn't do this, and then you just keep tweeting about it. That's how I know it's good because it's like it's one of those challenges that just like you want to keep going, like you're not going to give up, kind of thing.
The DLC is amazing because it's like straight up malicious game design. Like a lot of people complained about the difficulty of Doom Eternal, and basically what it did is take down every one of their complaints in detail and made sure they put all of those things into the first level of the DLC and then made the other two levels way harder. It's like it's antagonistic design, but it's like you can tell they knew what they were doing with some of these encounters because you just look at it and you're like, are you guys serious? But then you get through it, and then the next encounter they do something else like that. It's so much fun.
Doom Eternal is both things that I wanted out of a sequel to Doom 2016, which is it gave us kind of a hokey like actual story that paid a lot of love to Doom 2 specifically, which is what I really kind of wanted because Doom 2 always gets overlooked, I feel like, by casual fans. And then fucking that gameplay loop. I mean, once you add in all these different functions, all the resource management, the layers upon layers of complexity in combat, Doom Eternal did the same thing that Doom 2016 did to me all over again, which is it taught me to enter this weird sort of completely reactionary state where me and the game were one and I was just aggressive and I was going to murder. I am not like a capital G gamer, okay? I don't have gamer fits.
Well, you're on a gaming podcast.
That's well, okay, right. And I get harassed by the gamers
gaming.
regularly. But like there is just something about the way Doom gets my fucking blood pumping that I'm like, it's a very like, oh, not to reference a fucking
when the music kicks in
Yes.
some of these encounters.
It's like Watchmen. You're all trapped in here with me. Let's fucking go. The Marauder. Everybody on the internet was like, the Marauder's really hard and makes me think differently about how I play the game. And meanwhile, they throw 2 Marauders at me, and I'm just like, yes, it's time to fucking go. So I fucking loved Doom Eternal. I have no feedback on how to make it a better game. It's just good.
I like that they added the old games into the game, right? Like the original games. Like I don't know anything about Doom, but I know they added those in because I played the older Doom games. And so I like that. That for me was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move to the next 5. What do we got here? These are good games.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let John go next.
Oh
wait,
no.
Why? What's next?
John, did you
Wait.
change your list after I changed my list?
Of course I fucking did.
Okay, good.
Let John go next. There's
So,
reasons.
okay, we're doing those games then.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
fine. Let's go for it.
We're doing
Okay,
John.
okay.
All right.
But again, these are group picks, right? Like it's just a. So we got all right. Our next 5 games are Metroid: Samus Returns, Resident Evil 2, Link's Awakening remake,
Yes.
Final Fantasy 15, boo, and Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, boo.
Which I
Okay,
want
so
to point
first of
out.
all,
I want
fuck
to
you
point
and
out we
fuck
aren't
you.
ranking games, but John had Breath of the Wild as his last final lowest ranked game,
I mean,
just tickles me
Hilarious.
pink.
Could it
That's
be
all
that
I
it
wanted
was
to
the
say
last
about
one to
that.
come to mind because it was forgettable?
no,
It's
just
just-
I wasn't really putting anything in a specific order. So sorry, fellas.
Here comes the spice.
So here's the deal. I learned in the middle of this podcast that Derek had like a chud removed Resident Evil 2.
It was a hard
from
choice,
his
man.
list.
It was a hard
From his
choice.
list. No, Derek, there are no hard choices. There are only hard answers. And my hard answer was to get rid of Dark Souls 3, which I love, and
Absolutely.
give Leon and Claire their
Absolutely.
due.
I support
But you put
Claire
a
Redfield deserves
remake
better.
of a Game Boy Color game that is unchanged, other than the fact that it
No.
looks like it's made
You're
out
next,
of
Derek.
Mega Blocks.
Go on, John. Go on.
Eric, how fucking
Here,
dare you force
here,
me to
I will-
search Miyazaki like
I will-
this?
No,
I
I'm
will
saying,
help
John,
I will help defend Link's Awakening's honor.
two,
I will
two
help
of your
Link's
games,
Awakening's
three
honor.
of your games are remakes. One of them is literally a Game Boy Color game that did not change in gameplay. And one of them is Final Fantasy 15.
No. When I get there for Extra Life, I remake your fucking face. How about that? How about I do that? But
You know what?
okay,
With your taste
so-
in
He's gonna put
remakes,
a
it will
snake
be
in your bed.
exactly the same.
Great. So, okay.
Hey, Derek, at least Link's Awakening had structure and fun.
Can I talk
Unlike the
about my
other.
fucking games or not?
Yeah, John, please. Please. I want to
Okay.
hear about how awesome Resident Evil 2 is.
I'm gonna stop giving you
Resident
shit.
Evil 2! So, Resident Evil 2, remake of the original game from PlayStation that came out in 1998, I believe. Resident Evil 2 took what was already a great game, but something that was archaic and difficult to play now, and made it beautiful. And of course, John's games bring out the shouting. Yes, they do. I love all of you. But Resident Evil 2 took a classic game and made it eminently playable for a new
Scary
generation.
and hot.
I mean, it was scary. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
hot
like,
for fucking sure. What the
there
fuck,
was
y'all?
nothing.
Resident Evil 2's
There
horny.
there was nothing more stress-inducing for me, or a few things more stress-inducing for me in games this year than hearing Mr. X thud around on the floor.
His music is so fucking good.
And yeah, like I get that he's just a big, tall version of me in a trench coat, but when he's storming down the hallway at you, like it's like the first time you see it, it's fucking pants shitting.
John, but you
Like,
don't look like a ball sack, so
When he lifts up that when he
lifts
lifts up the helicopter.
Yeah. Yeah, like and I love Leon's reaction. He's like, "Holy shit!" Like that's exactly.
Claire does the same shit.
That's exactly
She's
what.
the better character to play as.
And so Claire, I believe Claire is the better character to play as well. And I prefer her campaign just because I think it makes more sense to fight William Birkin at the end than it does, Mr. X, the tyrant.
Yeah.
But there was so much meat to that game, so much replayability that it was an exemplary horror experience and one of my favorite games. I've played through it 7 fucking times.
I mean, it was on my
Like,
game of the year, game of the generation list before I had to make the hard choice to cut it. So like, I give you shit, but it's so fucking good. It is the perfect combination of horror and action in Resident Evil at this point. It's the best one.
It's straight up one of the few video game remakes
That's
that
better
I
than the
think
original.
is
absolutely.
well, not just that, but I think it perfectly toes the line between what do we keep similar to the original, what do we modernize, what do we make new. And like, I don't think there was anybody that was disappointed with changes that were made in Resident Evil 2. There was no purists that were upset with it, and it was more accessible and more fun for newcomers. It was incredible. It was one of the most impressive. It was a new game built from the ground up. Like, it looked at the original as like, okay, this is what we have to move, and this is, it looked to the original for inspiration, but it was a brand new game.
The trailer.
Again, we've mentioned so many times that Capcom has been on such a hot streak the past few years, and like this is one of the hottest games of their hot streak.
So I won't I'm gonna try to get through my list as quickly as possible because I know we got a lot to we still got so much fucking more to talk about. We got another hour and a half of this shit. But
We got more than an hour and a half. We're gonna be here another 3 fucking hours,
true, yeah.
buddy.
So Link's Awakening, not a whole lot to say on this one. It's a 1-to-1 remake of the original, but one, it's fucking gorgeous. I love the aesthetic of Link, basically looking like they're like little toys, and it makes like more than any other remake I've played. There are so many quality of life additions to Link's Awakening. Like in the original, like if you wanted to equip a new item, like you had to get out, you had to go to the menu, unequip your sword, equip a fucking item in your sword slot, and then when you wanted to bring your sword back, you had to go back into the menu, put your fucking sword back on, go back. There was so much, and today replaying the Game Boy version is tedious and horrible.
You know what makes it great? The fact that your weapons don't fucking break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun game to play. When you get into a fight, you don't want to hate yourself.
I know, right? Yeah, but no, don't worry. We'll get to Breath of the Wild.
Link's Awakening was actually my first Zelda game ever.
Really?
What?
And no, not the remake. The original
Oh, okay.
Link's Awakening.
Where's that rock you've been living under?
No, I've been a Zelda fan for a long time, which is why I have
about the Minish Cap. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Which is why I have opinions on recent Zelda games. But Link's Awakening was really great. It just was so fun and refreshing for me to revisit the game. I loved the new visual style, and I loved how faithful it was to the original game. It was just super nice to revisit, and I'm glad a lot of new people got to check it out.
So,
Before we finish, I just want to get my 2 cents in that Link's Awakening I thought ran like butt and gave me a headache, so I didn't play it.
that sounds like a Jeff Meyer problem.
It was just
that's a Nintendo problem. I get it.
Complaint. That's a legit
Nintendo
complaint.
games typically run very good and are very polished, and I was just really disappointed with
It's weird how the Switch can't run a Game Boy Color game.
Yeah,
John, do you want to tell us about another
Switch.
remake?
I just had to.
Oh, don't worry. I can play Wii U games real well.
I'm gonna run you in a minute. I don't know what that means.
Please just talk about another video game.
So, I love you, Derek. So, Final Fantasy 15. I understand that it's a divisive game. Some people love it, some people hate it. But what I will say is that as somebody who lost his best friend to suicide a few years ago and is going to lose another best friend to cancer, the story of just a bunch of bros on a road trip really resonated with me. Minus it's a Final Fantasy game and I love Final Fantasy, but the relationship between the bros really was something that stuck home for me. I played this after I lost Joel, my best friend of 20 years. And we used to take long road trips, and so this is something that really, really stuck with me. Plus, I love the combat, I love the characterization. And Arden is one of the best series villains, and I will fight anybody who disagrees.
Arden's fun.
Arden is a great, and Darren DePaul voices him with such smarmy.
Darren DePaul is just
Yeah, like hello. I fucking love that character. I love everything
hated
about
him
him
immediately. Like,
so
good.
He was very Kefka-like in the sense that he's one of the only Final Fantasy villains who actually won. Like he won. He plunged the world into darkness for 10 years. Yeah, love that fucking game.
Can I talk about like why I didn't like the game?
Please.
So I finished 15. I platinumed it. I love Gladio. I love the cast. The cast is wonderful. That's not the issue. My issue is you have this main female character.
Yeah, they handled Luna Freya badly.
Spoilers, she dies.
And without really...
And then
immediately after showing up. Immediately after meeting her.
So the only female characters you left is two people that can't join your party. One that does briefly, Aranea, who I love her.
Aranea should have been a party member. Like,
oh god, I love Aranea. And then Cindy, who works on your car in shorts and has cleavage, which as a bisexual woman is not bad to look at, but as also
you just wish there were better representations
out of female characters, like I said about Aloy. Like I was like, oh god, it's like, so bro trip, not bad. I don't like how they handled female characters. in that game.
Really,
They were
I agree.
100% eye candy
Mhm.
and emotional fucking puppets,
I
and I
agree.
hate that.
Luna
I hate
Freya,
it.
Luna Freya
Again,
are a raw
I
deal.
platinumed the game. I love the gameplay. You know, as
Plus,
as
like-
much as I didn't like the story,
Like
I
Brittany,
kept going. I kept playing.
I'll also
What?
say this, Brittany. Like, as much as I love the game, it's a top 3 Final Fantasy for me. But the way they handled Luna Freya made her relationship with Noctis
Yeah,
completely
I love
unbelievable for me.
that.
Like,
Before I
like,
beat
I
the
didn't-
game, I got her necklace, the one with the like half moon on it, and then she died, and I was like,
yeah, I did.
why do I,
I was,
why do I what purpose did she serve?
yeah, I was not invested in their relationship at
She
all.
got free.
Food in that game looked good as hell, though.
I like
Oh,
like
Oh,
the
I don't
real
even
relate
food good, but Daddy-O, can we talk about
hold
how
on,
good the
quick.
characters looked in that game?
the real romance in that game were the bros.
Yeah.
I really liked
No,
the first
like-
half of the game. Like I felt like it was more.
Yeah, the first
intimate and
half was
personal,
good.
and like you just kind of had some downtime. Like I felt like it was really well paced, and I feel like it just lost the plot in the second half. And
Exactly.
I finished
I
the
liked
game
it,
and I liked it, but like looking
The
back
moment
on
you
it,
hit that French town, like things just like hit 150 miles per hour, and you're like, what is
I
happening?
don't usually complain about boss fights. The Leviathan boss fight was straight up like that game was fucking broken during that fight for me. Like I was warping like under the water and
Combat
into a
didn't
wall
work in
and like
FF15. I don't know what y'all talking about.
I don't know, but like
So,
I enjoyed the
wait,
game overall.
okay,
Just the second half really soured me.
hold on, one more thing on Final Fantasy 15. One more thing for me on Final Fantasy 15.
Before we get to Final Fantasy 16. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Wait, no, Finn has
Um,
something to say. Wait,
hold on,
Finn, go.
Go ahead.
No, I haven't gotten to say anything about 15. I also platinumed it. I think it is a solid Final Fantasy game. I just wish that most of its major plot beats didn't feel like you missed a book or a movie about it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad Final Fantasy. I just think it's on the lower.
It
tier
spent
of
10
Final
years getting
Fantasies.
fucked around a room, and you can kind of tell.
You can
Yeah.
tell.
But you know
yeah.
what? This
So I
isn't
don't
it's one of
blame
those
it.
Guys,
So
this
the
is
most
not
amazing.
about shit all over John's favorite games.
No, I
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
incredible. I think it's a
So
great
let's talk
game.
about how Final Fantasy 16 is
So,
our game of next gen and move on.
Hold on.
For
There's one more thing I want to say about Final Fantasy 15, and it's this. I did have a moment where I dropped the controller and stormed out of the room in disbelief and anger. But it's not
Was
the
it when
moment that
Jared
you
died?
think. No, not at all. Rest in peace, Jared. We'll never forget you.
Who's
No.
Jared?
F's in the chat for
No.
Jared.
So yeah, please spam Derek in the chat for Derek or for Jared. But
Who
the
is
moment
Jared?
the moment see, that's the whole point. The moment that I dropped my controller and yelled in rage and stormed out is when Gladio told me with a straight fucking face, after all, cup noodles are shrimp are chosen from over 60 varieties for their flavor and shape. And I was like, oh fucking shit.
John, it's
That's what
true.
made you, out of all
John.
the shit that you did,
John,
that's
it's
what made you
true.
drop your controller.
Yes, there are no way cup noodle shrimp are chosen from 60 varieties for their flavor or shape. That's
Yo,
bullshit.
Fuck the food in that game though, man.
Oh God,
Oh, the food looked
I
so
will-
amazing. So
I've never wanted fish and chips more in my life.
Yeah, like
Justin, did you
and-
have something on 15? Because we gotta move on.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
one
we
of
gotta
those
move
games
on.
that I think has a lot of flaws, but I ended up liking it quite a bit, even though I can acknowledge all of those flaws are valid. Like, it's one of those games that I think I like more than maybe it deserves, but I really enjoyed my time with it.
I have over 100 hours in that game, so
Me
it's
too. I have 150.
yeah, same.
Real quick, my last two. Metroid: Samus Returns. I just love Metroid.
Hell
I
yeah.
love Metroid.
Yup.
And this was a great remake of a game that, like, going back to play the original Return of Samus on Game Boy is
You
really
can't.
difficult.
It's impossible.
It has not held up well. This makes it accessible to everybody. It's the best looking game on 3DS by a country mile.
It's the best 2D
Uh,
Metroid, hands down.
I would say
Mercury Steam did an
Yeah.
awesome job stepping up to make a 2D
really
Metroid
did.
game.
they
I
really did.
hate to get nitpicky, but it just still fucking drives me up the wall that this didn't come out on Switch because the
Switch,
Switch was
yeah.
already out and I wanted to play this.
Yeah,
And why didn't it come out on Switch?
I don't.
Because Nintendo.
But
Nintendo.
how is it still not on Switch? That's what I don't get.
I mean, you could
Nintendo.
easily port this game to Switch. I mean, it's
It wouldn't be a huge
not at all.
undertaking.
And so, but having said that, it's still, like Derek said, a top tier 2D Metroid.
It's the best.
And plus, I won't ruin it, but that surprise new final boss fight,
Fusion.
yeah. And then Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, kind of gave me that Zelda experience that I had wanted for a long time, which is just here's Hyrule, go out and do whatever the fuck you want. And there are so many fun and creative ways to break that game. Like if you have never cast stasis on a tree and beat the shit out of it, then stood on it and sailed across the entirety of the central plateau, then you haven't really lived. Yeah, I mean, Breath of the Wild, I won't spend too long on this one because we could talk for 2 hours about the nuances of Breath of the Wild. But it is the best Zelda game for me, period. And I'm somebody who Zelda is in my top 5 series of all time. I love that game. I've got what, 250 hours in that game. I fucking love it. I love it.
I just real quick want to follow.
Yeah.
Just really quick, I want to follow that up. I also think it's the best Zelda game, and I don't even love it as much as you. I give it shit. We're not going to go into the weapon degradation. We could talk about that forever. And that really drove me nuts. But like, so my issue with the other Zelda games was that I would always get stuck because there was a specific thing that you needed in order to progress. And whether the game was too obtuse or I'm just too fucking stupid, I could never figure out what that thing was. And I would have to quit and just stop playing it. And I would never make more than a few hours.
Well, it looks like Jeff needs to play Link Between Worlds then.
Breath of the Wild is the only Zelda game I finished, and I appreciate it because there is more than one way to do everything, and you could do everything in multiple orders. And while I think that hurt the story, I was really disappointed in the narrative. I was able to finish it, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved that flexibility. So that's
Hyrule. Hyrule felt alive.
Yeah,
I will say this. The weapon is what makes me not get into the game, but I think if I got past that, I would get into the game. But like,
I mean, honestly, there are so many weapons lying around that weapon degradation was really never a problem for me because you find swords like every 5 feet in that fucking game.
But I didn't. I was like, I break one and then I have no more swords, and I had to go and run around for a half hour and try and find one.
I've had
really
enough
love all
of
the
the weapon
inventory
degradation
mechanics.
conversation to last me 8 lifetimes,
Yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
Some people love it, some people hate it. That will never be
Look,
bridged.
So I will just say, if I can get, I think if I can get past that, I will enjoy the game. But I haven't played more than like 30 minutes of the game, and it's just because I can't get into it. And I think once I do get into it, I'll be sucked in. But like, I just haven't got to that point yet.
I just think everything would be moot if your Master Sword wouldn't die for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
Not
if
much
they-
of a master sword.
So I'm gonna give some actual like things
Just an
that
subservient
I'm
sword.
gonna have talk about this game
Save
in
us, Derek.
in a way that
That-
fucking matters. Which is
Finn, did you
I
hear that?
think. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just so tired of talking about the fucking weapons.
That's all
I have
got.
been
I've only made
tired
30
for
minutes.
years. That conversation has made me hate Breath of the Wild, and I don't even dislike the weapon degradation. No, so what's weird about Breath of the Wild for me is I think it might be my favorite Zelda from a story and lore standpoint, which is interesting when it has very little actual plot in the game that isn't flashbacks to shit that happened 100 years ago. But there's something about the world, there's something about the story and the mood and the atmosphere that clicks really well for me. And in terms of Zelda's, like the various Zelda stories. And I love the characters and all of that. And what's weird is I like a lot of elements of the gameplay, but everything I like about it is stuff that is not Zelda to me. And all of the stuff I like about playing a Zelda game is not present in Breath of the Wild.
But you still like it.
But I still like it, but it's not Zelda to me. Like it is, but it isn't. Like for me, when I play a Zelda game, I'm expecting like dungeons and puzzles and progression through this complicated dungeon and getting weird new tools and items and learning kind of how to use them. And Breath of the Wild gives you everything, every major tool pretty much right at the start. And the shrines are not a replacement for dungeons for me, and neither were the Guardian Beasts.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even come close. You know, I mean, I really like the game, but I'll always remember it as being like it's only half of a Zelda game to me. So, but I like it quite a bit, even if I give it some shit.
Yeah.
I give it some
totally-
shit,
I totally respect
but
that. I totally respect that.
yeah,
I
mean-
think for me, it's just easier for me to hate on the stuff that I don't like because everything else about Breath of the Wild is so good that I should be just absolutely loving it. And the fact that it's the stuff that I don't like is so looming over and overshadows everything else, it just bothers me. But damn it, I want to love it. I want to love it.
Well,
so
we do.
bad.
We do got to move on. We do got to
Yeah,
move on. So
we do.
let's.
Hefe,
All right.
hit us.
I'm next.
Who's next?
All right, we got 5 more games here. Wow, these are all over the place. All right, we got Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, Hollow Knight, Hellblade, Axiom Verge, and Sunset Overdrive, and these were
Put
submitted.
Sunset Overdrive on here.
That was
People with
another
good
Finn.
taste.
Change. Finn got
People
it
with
in.
good taste. So I had.
Seriously, you give me shit about Breath of the Wild? You put fucking Sunset Overdrive on here?
Hey, real quick, John, look at chat. They're gonna be shitting all over you for hating on Sunset Overdrive because this game is a banger. Okay.
No!
so- yes. 100%.
Sunset
Sunset Overdrive is literally
No!
the only reason.
Nobody would
It is
know.
the only reason.
Sunset Overdrive is video
wow.
game.
Look at all of
Like,
chat
that-
loving Sunset Overdrive. It's only
I'm
'cause if you're
glad my
fucking
list was
full of shit.
first, where we could have a
Chat has
coherent
no fucking idea
discussion.
what they're talking about.
Okay,
I'm
so-
sorry.
Two things. One, I bought the only reason I even bought a One X or a Xbox One was because of Sunset Overdrive. The
Sunset
second they
Overdrive.
announced at its first E3, they're like, and Insomniac is making a brand new game and it's only on Xbox. I was like, well, fuck, I guess I'm getting an Xbox. And two, I want to point out the weird fact that only I, the guy that loves PlayStation and Nintendo, has Xbox exclusives on his list. Only me.
Whoop-de-doo
I am
for
the
you.
only.
Does that say something about you or about Xbox?
Well, it's just
Yeah.
weird that I'm the one that
Ooh.
chose Sunset Overdrive. Anyway, point is, Xbox had a shitty year for exclusive games or gen. I don't think anyone's arguing that fact.
Several
But
years.
Sunset Overdrive was so good, and you can
No.
feel all of the DNA that made Spider-Man great started with Sunset Overdrive.
No! What the hell are you talking
Well,
about?
first of all, the
Speaking of
creators.
Spider-Man,
Wait, hold on,
let's
Brandon.
move
Hold
on.
Hold on. The creators of Spider-Man and Sunset
They
Overdrive
literally just tweeted this out
said-
today.
said that it's
Today!
because of Sunset Overdrive. So you, once again, can go fuck off with your Sunset
No.
Overdrive hate.
No.
Sunset Overdrive is amazing.
Hey guys, Rise, Son of Rome is the best game ever. Like, I mean,
No,
oh.
I mean, no one's saying that. But Sunset Overdrive is incredible. So I'm just gonna,
I just want everybody to know my wife just came down here and she's like, "Is everything okay?"
No.
No,
it's not.
Sunset Overdrive.
No.
I'm just gonna read some chat right now and make myself feel
Read some chat.
justified about everything. Oh,
Finn,
although-
I'm giving you a hard time. I love you.
Sunset
Although
Overdrive.
I did not love Sunset Overdrive as much as you.
Because
I-
okay, Sunset Overdrive is what happens if you take the crazy weaponry of Ratchet and Clank and give it the mobility of Spider-Man. That's Sunset Overdrive. And if you can't appreciate that combo, you haven't played Sunset Overdrive.
I heard it was
Who wants
crackdown,
to-
but
who
good.
wants to come on camera and say hi to everybody.
Yeah,
Who cares?
I care.
I heard it
Bring
was
her on.
Tell Vicky
crackdown,
I
but
love
good.
her.
Now. All right, fine. I love you.
I
Thanks for
heard
checking
it
on
was
Not you.
crackdown, but good. Somebody riff off of that,
Yeah.
please.
So I
Crackdown, but
played,
good. That's fine.
I played
it's
a few hours of Sunset Overdrive on Xbox, and I gave it a second chance on PC. I want to try to be nice to the game. The tone just didn't work for me.
Yeah, me too.
Something about the humor, something about
John
I
didn't
don't
even play it.
know. But I will be positive. The gameplay was fantastic. It just feels good. It's fun. Insomniac always nails it with the weapons and the goofiness and stuff like that. So,
I
you
just
know,
think the
I'll give
humor
it-
tried. I just think it tried too hard with the humor.
and like games are so gritty and dark now. Like I just love the colorful atmosphere of that game. It just looks fucking fantastic. So I don't know.
love
I'm
the
gonna
color
give it
scheme,
props on that.
the use of orange, the crazy weapons. I could do without the tower defense segments, but again, I had almost forgot to put this on here. I had Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 as my original pick because you have to have some anime love. But then I
Gotta
was like,
have
wait,
Sasuke
Sunset
in the
Overdrive.
mix.
Oh no. So anyway, moving on. I'm gonna go to Axiom Verge.
Yes.
Because
Metroid
Finally,
won,
some
but
good
upsetting.
Finn,
Yeah.
Finn, I just want to say real quick before you move on, Finn, we may disagree on Sunset Overdrive, but you overdrive my Sunset.
Oh, look.
What does
I
that
love you
even
too, buddy.
mean?
It means that we love each other and you can't stand between that.
And
So
you can't get
Axiom
between our
Verge
love.
is Metroid 1, but
upsetting.
made by a single dude, and it's so
Yeah,
God,
Tom
it's so
Happ.
good.
Tom Happ.
Tom Happ is dope AF, and Axiom Verge was the first indie game I distinctly remember this that I was truly hyper fixated on when they announced it. I was like, holy shit, look at this. And I followed everything about it, and I was eagerly waiting. It is the first indie game that I truly, this whole gen, that I was locked in on, and it did not disappoint. The game was, if you loved the Metroid, not the Metroidvania, but original Metroid style of game, this game, and then they flipped it on, he flipped it on its head with the whole like
using the glitches,
code. The glitches and stuff. Oh shit. So
it was
good.
so meta. I fucking loved it. Oh, that game is so good.
It's just Metroid 1, but a fucking lot.
I have an Axiom Verge shirt.
God.
Yeah, so do I. I've got the same shirt, Finn. I have the same shirt.
So anyway, Axiom Verge is incredible, and I cannot wait for Axiom Verge 2. So
I hope it's
so
a Game
good.
Boy Color game.
I hope so. Next up, I have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Great choice.
Which was one of those games that it came out of nowhere. Like, I don't think
this would have been on my list if it hadn't been on Finn's.
Yeah. And this is another, if I hadn't put it on, Saki would have chosen this over Fire Emblem. This was a game that we played together, and it really resonated with us. Just everything from the acting, the mocap, the whole documentary around how the game was built, just the mythology around the game, the just tense atmosphere, and the story it told. Like, I sat at the end and I was just like, wow.
Plus,
like, this is a game.
The best sound mixing in any game this generation.
Oh my god, the
sound,
way you have put
the sound design is
if you put headphones on and the way the whispers like move the 360
unbelievable.
Oh man. Oh,
this is a game that I also probably would have put on had it not already been voted for the list. It was one that, like, I was just checking it out because I'm like, hey, it's Ninja Theory. This game looks kind of cool. And then I always play games with headphones anyway, so I had my headphones on, and it was just like the amount of work that they went in with like the mental health aspect of it and made it actually like an important part of the story and the characterization.
They met with
the fact
who
that
deal with psychosis and talked about it.
And the fact that they actually managed to communicate that with the player through that audio design in a way where you actually physically feel it in the same way as the character would, just adds so much to the game. Not to mention, it's just cool as shit. Like, that Nordic.
God, plus the fucking music, like that Nordic themed battle music, like it was so good. But
it was just a really, really great game, and it was one of those games where you kind of realize that small teams can do some really, really, really cool stuff. Like, it's gorgeous. Performances were great. The audio was great. It's a really, really cool game, and people should really check it out.
It's the most realistic depiction of a mental illness I have seen in the medium.
And what's crazy is that if Sunset Overdrive was the reason I got an Xbox One, Hellblade going exclusive to Xbox next gen is the reason I'm getting a Series X. I don't care that it's years away. That was the reason that cemented me getting it. It was just like, okay, it's happening.
Plus, I'll just say that the soundtrack is great workout music. That's neither here nor there, but it really is.
Next up, I have another Metroidvania style game because it is one of my favorite genres, and that is the incredible indie explosion game of Hollow Knight.
Bless you, sir.
Which combines the gameplay of a Metroidvania, but with the lore dripping of like a Souls game.
Like a Souls game, yeah.
Yeah. Their story is 100% Souls. The difficulty is very Souls-like.
Even the death mechanic, Finn.
Yeah. Where you have to go back to where you died to reclaim all of your souls. And I loved everything about this game. This is the only game that I have delved into the YouTube rabbit hole to find out like all the lore, like the people that go crazy and like find out all the lore and like, and this is where this was. And I'm like, oh my God, I never knew
It is the first Metroidvania since Super Metroid to really capture that feeling of being truly alone.
Yes, 100%. goes deep. You all right there, Derek?
I'm good. Sorry, I've been sneezing.
Okay, bless you, my son.
Bless you, Derek.
So Hollow Knight, it's just another. It's like Axiom Verge, where this game was so good and defined indies for me for this almost entire generation, and now I'm just frothing at the mouth to play Silk Song, the actual true sequel. Because
Plus,
this,
it's fucking huge.
oh
like,
my, yeah, and that's not even including the DLC. Like this,
Yeah.
and the fact that this is Team Cherry's first game defies all logic. Just like Axiom Verge was Tom Happ's first game. I don't understand how these people are doing it.
yeah,
It's
me neither.
Hollow Knight, and in
fucking
fact,
wild.
and if you have not played Hollow Knight, it is the November PlayStation Plus game, so you
Go
don't
play
really
it.
have an excuse. Get
Is
ready
it
for Silk
co-op?
Song. It is
It is
not
not
co-op.
co-op, but it's amazing.
Oh, so and the fact that it's all told without dialogue, just minimal dialogue, but no voice acting. It's all just think like Legend of Zelda, like Link grunts.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of bugs going like
Just
like
a bunch of bugs, and the art style is just
the
anyway.
original bug snacks, if you will.
It's the original Bug Snacks, yes. So
Speaking of which, Bug Snacks is also on PS
Derek,
Plus for November.
PlayStation Plus has a dope ass November. I'm just
Derek,
throwing
like
it out
Derek is
there.
like, I was hoping to go through a whole show without mentioning bug snacks.
You mean without talking about
First of
Bug
all,
Snacks?
we're talking about Bug
we're
Snacks.
talking about
Okay.
bug snacks now.
I have a video I made that's going up tomorrow. This has nothing to do with anything, but it's the reason Saki can't get enough of Bug Snacks, and it has to do with a bug snack
Finn,
called
talk about
Snoopy
Spider-Man.
Banoopy. Snoopy
Finn, oh my
Banoopy.
God, Finn, we have no time for Snoopy Banoopy. Finn,
So-
we have no time for Snoopy Banoopy. Go to
Let's talk
Spider-Man.
about
think we can-
Spider-Man.
I think we can all agree that Bug Snacks is the game of next generation.
Oh God,
Yes.
please, no,
hands
I'm
down.
sorry I brought up.
Absolutely.
Best indie of next gen. Okay, so Spider-Man. I had trouble picking one open world game because there are so many amazing open world games, and luckily a couple of my biggest ones were chosen by other people. Well, there was only one other one I wanted, and it was
Which
chosen by
was?
Jeff. I'll let Jeff get to his game when he gets to it. But so I love open world games as well. There's just something cathartic and serotonin inducing about checking off every little icon on a map and just clearing everything out. I can't help it. It's a tick of mine. And Spider-Man does it so well because there has never been an open world game with mobility as good as Spider-Man's. It's the only game that I've never seen the fast travel load screen because I never fast traveled.
Yeah.
Oh fuck
It's
that.
so
Yeah,
much more fun.
if you fast travel in Spider-Man, you're playing the game wrong.
Wait, no, I'm a
sorry.
liar. I did it at the end because I'm pretty sure one of the trophies.
Oh, you
was fast
lying
travel.
piece of shit.
Anyway, it was I do it for the platinum, baby. So moving around as Spider-Man is phenomenal. And never mind the fact that some of the crimes got repetitive. That's just Spider-Man as a whole. But the story was so good, and the fact that they took things that you expected from Spider-Man, because you know Spider-Man, and they still managed to tell a compelling story. And then they bring in Miles, and they're bringing in all these. The only downside, the only thing that ruined Spider-Man for me was I wish Sony hadn't dedicated an E3 showing all the other Sinister Six that would show up.
Like, I would have wished that
showing-
it stayed more of a surprise, but
Because then I knew, like, oh, okay, all these other villains are going to be in the game. If they had just kept it at Mr. Negative, I would have just been happy.
yeah.
But
Also,
Spider-Man as a whole was amazing.
Also,
Post-combat, post-credit.
another great showcase for Darren DePaul.
Spider-Man
Probably.
was great interpretations of a lot of fantastic Spider-Man characters and villains, and it had all of the best storytelling, like stylings and elements of like the best parts of Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man, which was really good to see. I famously really do not like big open world games. I just don't. The closer your game is to being Assassin's Creed, the less likely I am to even play it. And I
that's the
actually
opposite.
beat Spider-Man, and damn near 100%ed it. I loved it. I loved, the cohesive kind of tech aesthetic that they had across all the different villains, down to their like their redesign of Taskmaster is a perfect example of how they applied their unique look. Like, that's not necessarily a good Taskmaster design, but it's a great Taskmaster design for Spider-Man on PS4. Like,
Yeah.
is good. The only thing that if I think back to it that I go, ugh, is like that post-credit sequence was like, we almost got an entire Spider-Man piece of media without symbiotes. And
and here we
yeah.
go. Oh, never mind. So
All I thought was, I can't wait to see where they go with it. Maybe they'll actually make symbiotes good.
I threw something. I threw a cup.
I
was
love
mad.
like mild
Wait, wait.
spoilers. I love how Norman Osborn walks into that bathing green light, and I was like, well, at least you're not being subtle about it.
So one thing I really agree with what Derek said, because I love the characterization and Insomniac's take on this world of Spider-Man. But I want to add something that nobody else has mentioned, and that is the actual design of Spider-Man's suit.
Yeah.
For this game.
I was actually going to say that next.
It's my favorite Spider-Man suit design. Like, for Peter Parker, like, it has replaced like the classic red and blue in my mind as how I default picture Spider-Man.
I
now.
didn't care for it.
Well, that's fine. I got a big poster of it coming.
I loved it. The big white.
I got a big poster of it coming, and yeah. So I really like how Insomniac put their stamp on Spider-Man as a franchise. I'm really excited to see where it continues to go.
All right, what do we got next, Jeff?
I guess these are technically my picks. So we got 5 more games. The first one, maybe you guys can help me out with this. Maybe you can help me.
Uh-oh.
It's your pick.
So
your picks.
It's 2 games.
No,
It's 2 games,
It's not.
so-
It's one game because the one game has content from both.
Thank you. So I've got Hitman and Hitman 2. Now, if you buy Hitman 2, you can also buy the Legacy Pack. Basically, you can have all of Hitman in Hitman 2. There's 5 levels in each game, like not including DLC. There's 5 levels. So I'm just viewing Hitman
But
as
it
a
like
platform.
updates
Hitman
the
as a service.
Hitman season 1.
Well, my honorable mention was Destiny, but it was Destiny and Destiny 2 and all the expansions and stuff. It's the same kind of thing.
I will
So,
say
I mean, if you
Hitman
wanna be
2,
picky,
and you count
if you
the
wanna be-
content from Hitman 1 that carries
Is that the
over.
one where you throw the briefcase and it just fucking endlessly
Yes.
chases somebody?
Briefcase, it hones
That
in on them.
alone. All right, that's fine. I
So-
accept.
If you want to get picky, it's Hitman 2 because it also includes the levels from Hitman 1, but for the purposes of that, we're just going to include it all as one. I've also got The Last Guardian, Metro Exodus, Watch Dogs 2, and Rainbow Six Siege. So I don't know.
You got some
I
picks on there,
probably-
and the thing is, they're all okay. Let's start with the one that I think is spicy. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to do this to you, man.
No,
The Last Guardian.
I knew it.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, you knew it
figured
was
that's what
coming. That's the.
The Last Guardian, let me just give a little
Tell me
spiel on
what
it,
you
all right?
love about The Last Guardian. That's what I want to hear genuinely.
The Last Guardian runs like absolute shit.
Oh, it's so
Is
yeah.
a fucking struggle to play. But I found the relationship between the player and Trico, the bird dog, bird cat, cat dog, whatever you want to fucking call it. It was one of the strongest with considering the fact that it can't even talk, it was one of the strongest relationships I've experienced in a game. I felt an attachment to it. It didn't always respond to my commands, but I didn't care. This is my experience with it. Your experience might have been different. It seems like people had varying degrees of success with telling it what to do. My experience was when I needed it to do something, when I needed to progress in the game, it did. And I thought the visuals were, again, the frame rate was shit. It ran like shit, but I thought it was a beautiful game. I thought it was haunting. I thought it was emotional. The soundtrack was phenomenal. I weeped. My Twitter has been nuked because I'm not on Twitter anymore. But I had a video at the time where I recorded myself at the ending. I was bawling. I've never cried so hard at the end of a game, and it was just because I think it was a testament to the progression of that relationship and the storytelling. So this is my pick because that was my experience with the game. And when I thought back of all the games this generation that affected me, this one stood out for those
It is
reasons.
a very pretty and weird and kind of haunting game. Like it's I didn't necessarily like I have very mixed feelings about my time with it, but it's extremely memorable. And sometimes it's better to be memorable but flawed than it is to be good but vanilla pudding. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, that's
you
what I
know.
say all the time. Like, I'd rather have something that is kind of good sometimes and sucks ass than something that's just boring all the way through.
Yeah, like at least it did things that were interesting. But like the problem is that sometimes the shit that they did to that like nothing else does, like sometimes that's the fact that the creature doesn't always listen to you because it's supposed to be an animal that thinks for itself. And some parts of that are the fact that they modeled a real butthole onto the creature. Like why?
Wait.
Didn't
Yeah,
know that.
it has a very it has a butthole.
All right. Next, Jeff, what was your next game?
Wait, no, hold on.
Anybody who has
no,
have none of you ever owned a cat because you're
No,
used to the
hold
eye
on.
of Sauron staring at you.
No, we need to go deeper on this one. Is it a
We don't need to go
I don't
deeper.
think we need to go deeper
Does it have
into
the
the
actual-
butthole of the
No, 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 no,
creature
Derek,
from Last
Derek,
Guardian.
does it have like
Does it
Derek,
have
like the-
butthole?
Derek, does it have like the puckers?
John, have
around
you
it?
seen a
We
cat?
don't-
Have you
Oh my
seen a cat?
God.
It is exactly like a cat.
Next.
I don't know
about
what
the
you guys
butthole
want to talk
pucker.
about next. You want to talk about Metro Exodus? I think Justin
You
played that
Here,
too.
hold on.
Yes, Metro Exodus is good. Very good. Yeah, you go say what you want to say on it first.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with the Metro series. I tried to play Metro 23, like I think it 2033. I think it took me 4 tries to get through it. It's a fucking mess of a game, but there's some good stuff in it. Last Light was better, but Metro Exodus, I felt like finally achieved what the series wanted to achieve. I loved the environments. I loved the gameplay. I loved the pacing. I just thought it was it really gave me that feeling of adventure, and I really felt like I was moving from one place to another across an entire continent. The only downside I have is I think the silent protagonist fucking sucks, and I think it robs the story of a lot of impact because everyone is talking at you, but not talking with you, and all those relationships are one-dimensional. And I think
it's also weird because like he's the narrator too, so like he has an actual voice in the game. It's just not in any conversations. I always hate like I don't mind silent characters if they actually stick to it. I hate when they do the some cutscenes they'll talk, but like while you play they don't kind of thing. But yeah, I really like Metro Exodus. Just the thing that stands out about Exodus, and it's the same thing that stands out to me about the whole series, is just like the level of grit and stuff in that series. Like everything feels heavily used. Like everything looks heavily used. Like the weapons look stitched together. I don't know. There's just something that
like you're watching stuff like that. It just feels like you're so immersed in that environment and
Yeah,
like the
it's
weather
like,
effects. in
you
the
see-
desert.
like I mean, even just like looking at their gloves are worn and used, and like the guns are pieces of different weapons like stitched together, and sometimes you can see through them. You have to keep cleaning them, fix jams, stuff like that. Like that sort of thing I think is very, very compelling, and it just kind of gives Metro a really distinct feel among first-person shooters.
Yeah, Metro,
I don't
I
know.
mean, aesthetically, in terms of its like storytelling, in terms of its structure, I loved the kind of more open structure in Exodus. Like it wasn't an open game necessarily, but like not being nearly as confined and hallway linear as 2033 and Last Light were.
It felt like the open world was like just a place, but like within that open world, there was like handcrafted, more linear segments, I guess.
We're seeing more of that in AAA games too, where they have like tiny open world sections that are a little bit more well crafted that you explore for a while and then move on from. Anyway, yeah, Metro.
I dig that. I kind of like it. I like it more than one way or the
for
other.
sure. But yeah, Metro is it's just weirdly authentic. Does that make sense? Like it feels very worn, like you were saying, Justin, very worn down and very
Lived in.
It's lovingly post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not totally bleak either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not sunshines and rainbows, but it's like, hey, people are gonna find ways to survive, and they're gonna work together and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, I really like the Metro series, and I hope we see more from it in the future.
Finn, I want to hear your take on this next one because I had Watch Dogs 2 on here, and I know we
Yeah,
were
you
talking
did,
about it a little
buddy.
bit earlier. Give me your take on Watch Dogs 2, buddy.
Watch Dogs 2 is one of the best open world games of all time. Marcus and DeadSec is one of the.
We put up with your
greatest
bullshit. You
protagonists.
put up with ours.
What?
We're just silencing John. It's okay. Go on.
Oh, yeah, mute him. He has bad taste. Marcus is an amazing character. I love that you can play the entire game non-lethally, using just the baton, the stun, and in your drones and stuff. I love how I also love how it's probably one of the best sequels this entire generation. The quality jump from the missed opportunity of Watch Dogs 1 to Watch Dogs 2 might be the highest quality climb since Assassin's Creed Origins to like Unity or something like that, or Syndicate. I don't know. Point is, I really loved Watch Dogs 2. I loved the world. I love the characters. I loved the gameplay. I loved everything about this guy. I loved just the way that with playing as DeadSec and Marcus, the hacking made sense. I kind of wish you didn't even have the option for lethal fighting in that game. I think them having a 3D printer to make guns was antithesis to their entire methodology, but it's a game by Ubisoft, so I'll allow it. I didn't have to do it, and that I thought was really cool. The choice of how to tackle the missions actually felt like it was my choice. I really enjoyed everything about Watch Dogs 2.
I will say this, Fed. The protagonist, Marcus, I think his name was.
Yes.
Like you can't get much worse than Aiden Pierce. And
True.
Marcus was such a better protagonist than Aiden Pierce was. Like, I don't care how iconic his hat was.
I just kept waiting for Marcus to start shilling the PSP at me, but it never happened. That's a deep cut. Keep going.
Yeah, that's I haven't heard that one in a while.
I want to give points to Watch Dogs 2 for doing the opposite of what a lot of sequels do, and especially a lot of Ubisoft games do, where it actually became Watch Dogs 1 was a very dreary game.
Yeah.
Right? It was very drab, rainy nightscapes. Like it didn't have a lot of aesthetic character to it. It was very like dark, gritty, realistic, but without even the good fucking decency and panache to really pull off some noir elements. You tried, sweetie, and it didn't work. Watch Dogs 2 switching to the West Coast and making it like its whole aesthetic is more daytime, bright colors, Silicon Valley, maker culture. And it was very like, oh, you actually took something that had no personality and gave it something that's not really showed kind of a side of American culture that is very relevant to a lot of younger people. And I say younger at this point to mean like, 35 and younger. But like, maker culture's a big thing. Hacker culture,
John.
real hacker culture is a big thing in the United States. And I think Watch Dogs 2 decently captured the kind of feeling of those groups in a lot of ways. Like, I've got a lot of friends in maker spaces and kind of hacker culture here in Louisville, and it reminded me very much of like hanging out with those kinds of people, other than the fact that obviously scaled up to like, to meet the demands of the story. But I just, I gotta give it credit for taking a boring, shitty game and giving it some fucking character.
Yeah, and I think Justin had something to say. I'll get to him in a second. I put this on the list, so I just want to, quickly get my piece in. And yeah, basically everything you guys said, especially Finn and Derek. And it's the reason I love the game is it's the gameplay and the narrative, right? It's the missions actually felt like you could stealth the entire game all the way through. And I absolutely agree with Finn. I don't even know why guns are in the game. It feels fucking weird. None of the characters in this game would actually shoot to kill someone. It was the first time I ever, like, I used to roll my eyes at like the ludonarrative dissonance discussion, and then I played this game. I was like, okay, I fucking get it now, because I ran someone over with.
There's actually a moment like in the intro when Marcus like first shows up and they're like going through his file and they see that he's a gun owner and they like are like, he's a gun owner, or should we be nervous? Like, and then they're like, by the way, if you want to print assault rifles and 50 cals, go right ahead.
Yeah, but and like Derek said about the aesthetic, I think it was a great shift from like just the like fucking gritty, edge dark, dim item, like fuck that. And I kind of, this is the only Ubisoft game I feel like it works for, because they've walked such a fine line. It's campy, but it works, and the characters are cheesy but good. Like everything is like, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it just wants to have fun, but it doesn't cross that line of being too campy. And the color, but I feel like Ubisoft games now are all like, fuck it, like this like mask and neon colors and shit. They did it with the weird Far Cry 5 DLC, and they're doing it with Watch Dogs Legion and that weird Riders Republic game. Like, but like Watch Dogs 2, I feel like it's the only one where it really fits that world and that aesthetic and that vibe. And I don't know, Justin, you had something to add too.
Yeah, so I didn't play much of Watch Dogs 2. It kind of falls into that. It kind of falls into that period where a lot of Ubisoft games had like Assassin's Creed styles controls, and those are very difficult for me. And so like I appreciate a lot about the game, but I couldn't get past that. However, I really want to give a shout out to the diversity of the main cast in Watch Dogs 2, because it's something that Ubisoft usually does not do well, and has continued to kind of stumble with it. But you know, Marcus being a black lead, Josh and your crew being an autistic character that was treated well, and realistically, the leader of that Dead Set group was an Indian woman. Like, I thought they did a really good job of encapsulating those type of characters, as well as showing how they would interact and relate with each other. That was something that really stood out for me, and it's something that a lot of AAA games don't do well, and it's something that Ubisoft very much usually does not do well. And this really stands out because of that.
I played about 0 seconds of Watch Dogs 2, so I have absolutely nothing to add to this conversation.
Glad you fucking added that, John.
What's that,
Thanks for
Derek?
jumping in,
I
John.
said, glad you fucking added that, John.
You know what?
I appreciate it.
You know what? I gotta speak my piece. Okay, that's my opinion on Watch Dogs 2. I have no opinion.
It's all good. So I got 2 games left, just in the interest of time. I want to, unless someone really has something to add, I just want to run through Rainbow Six Siege. Just really quick, want to mention why it's on here. I don't like multiplayer games. I've mentioned this over and over again on the podcast. When I come home after work, or like I guess now I work from home, but like when I'm done working, the last thing I want to do is play PvP. I do not want to go online and get fucking destroyed by 15-year-olds who have nothing better to do than spend hundreds of hours getting really good at these games. But Siege is awesome. It's an awesome game. I hated it when it first came out. I think they really turned it around. I love that Rainbow Six Siege is rock, paper, scissors. That's all it is. Every operator has abilities to counter every other operator. The map design's really clever, and it can be really difficult to keep up with, and I admit that. They're always adding new maps, always adding new ops, but I had to put it on here because I have hundreds of hours on it between PlayStation 4 and PC. And it's the only multiplayer game since the Battlefield games that's really grabbed me and made me want to put time into it and get invested in it. And shout out to them for not forcing through another $80, $60 sequel. They've realized they have a good platform, they have a good foundation, they have a good player base, and they're just going to keep building on that, not throwing it away. So I respect that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Siege
Paladin
is
Amber
also
got
kind
a
of
super cute character in it.
Rainbow Six Siege.
Siege is a super. Oh, sorry. Siege is a really super cool game. I played it for a while. It got really hard for me to keep up because that game's some hardcore serious business now. But I think the whole concept of, you know, it's more kind of based off of positioning, holding down a space, but like the destruction angle and being able to like fire through like little holes and stuff that you make in the wall, where like
And the little things that you control to go spy on other people.
Yeah, the like little video cameras. Like there's a whole element of, you know, kind of like spycraft and information that instead of just pure reflex in it. And I think that's one thing that makes it, you know, really kind of special and unique. And I think it's a really, really cool game. It's a game I respect a lot.
So I'll say this much about Rainbow Six. I played it a couple times years ago with Jeff, and as somebody who is former military who's been in actual firefights, I was so embarrassingly bad at it that I felt I was too shamed to ever pick up the controller and play it again.
You were bad as a Marine.
It was really embarrassing as somebody who has actually been in combat. I will never show my face in that game fucking ever again.
It's a pretty goofy game.
Oh, it absolutely is. But I'll tell you what, though, it is another great example of how Ubisoft can just take these fucking games and turn them right the fuck around.
Well, that's the thing. Rainbow Six Siege is like
the prototype of that. Yeah, it's the game that was like, this is a games as a service that started off slow and bad, not great, and we just kept at it instead of abandoning it. They did the anti-EA method, where they were just like, we're just gonna keep working on this, and now it's like an esports god.
Yeah, now they got huge streamers streaming again. Paladin Amber, look at her.
The fact that when new graphics cards come out, Rainbow Six Siege benchmarks still get tested, like that should be a sign. But Rainbow Six Siege is the template for taking a game that maybe has struggled out the gate as a service game, and making it catch on. And it turns out the answer is to just stay the course and keep updating, keep bug fixing, keep adding content, keep refreshing, and it will grow. That you don't just throw everything at the wall to see what works and then give up, which you'd think would be an easier thing to understand, but that's too fucking hard. The only this is something to say to Rainbow Six Siege's quality. The only negative thing I have to say about Rainbow Six Siege is that it came in the place of Rainbow Six Patriots, which was such a cowardly cop-out move from Ubisoft that originally it was a more story-driven game that was explicitly going to deal with a certain, especially as we see nowadays, rising brand of far-right extremist terrorism, domestic terrorism in the United States, and they copped out of that, just like Ubisoft does out of all political content in their games. But I mean, you know, Rainbow Six Siege is really fucking good, and it's just the fact that they managed to pull out of that launch and turn it into such a mainstay of the esports scene is unseen before now, I think.
Yeah, and the last game I had on here was, again, we could talk about Hitman versus Hitman 2, but let's just call it Hitman, right? Hitman is, I don't even know how to fucking describe these games other than to say I just love them. They're
the
goofy.
briefcase is the best part. That's the only part you need to.
Incredibly accurate murder simulators.
So Jeff, instead of arguing between Hitman and Hitman 2, just call it Agent 47 Simulator.
Yeah, that's accurate, right? Like they're such a fucking weird game. The levels are so huge. The levels are so detailed. There's so many different ways to approach everything. And again, this is kind of a theme in my games. Like they don't take themselves too seriously. They aren't afraid to have fun. And like some of the exits and like the Easter eggs and stuff like that, like you can find them on YouTube, are just so silly. But there's so much like, and you know, the first game had episodic content, right? Like there was months between each map release, and I thought that was really cool because it forced you only had one map to play, and it forced you to play it over and over again and learn lots of things. And sure, you have the option to do that in 2, but I think it's just human nature to binge through all that stuff. You know, and unfortunately neither of them really got the commercial success that they wanted, I think. But just as a stealth sandbox, these are just games that you can just spend hours and hours in a single level and just go into every single room and poke at every single NPC and just see what you can do and see how they're going to react to you. And it's entirely unpredictable, and I just love it.
One of my favorite assassinations, one of my favorite targets from the most recent Hitman, was the one where you sit down in that dark room and the doctor comes in and you're sitting in the chair in the darkness, and she comes in for a little for some good time shit, and it's basically the scene from True Lies where Arnold has the French guy record those lines on a tape recorder, and he's like, do it, no, do it, doucement, do it. And for whatever reason, that part really, really fucking stuck with me, and it's stupid as shit, and I have no idea why.
Yo, the Hitman games fuck. That's all I got to say. They're so fun. They're so silly. The way that you can just replay the same level over and over again and have such completely different experiences. It's an example of where systems-driven games. It's a systems-driven game at its finest. Where just it's so based upon its mechanics and how it reacts to your choices that even the same basic setup can spiral out of control in so many different ways.
I will say this, Derek, like I do like every time, like when you knock out a florist and you change into his outfit, you put that little florist cap on and you got your wife, like I can't help but think that like the guards in front of the drug dealer's house are like, you're quite tall and chiseled and muscular.
You're
and
the scariest fucking
delivery.
florist I've ever seen,
like,
my dude.
Like, are you giving me these flowers because you're about to kill me? Is this some meta joke for my funeral? What is this?
You know, florists can look like anyone.
Yeah,
That's the
really
That's the real takeaway here.
florists
really
are
can.
allowed to have flecks of blood on their face.
All right. We got 5 more games before we move into our top 20.
So I have a question before we move forward.
We reached the halfway point
Before
after
we
2
move forward,
hours.
should we maybe consider, after the last 5 in this section, breaking this up for a 2-parter? Because, it's going to have been a 2-hour episode before we break into the top 20.
It.
Man, you know what?
I'm just saying.
Finn is so fucking smug with Saki on his shoulder.
No, absolutely not. No.
I think we're powering through, but you guys
powering
are
through.
Eastern time.
I told you that, like, just someone pick up that phone because I fucking called it.
Let's fight about this after my 5 games.
Chat, you guys
right,
can weigh in too.
I'm throwing the suggestion out there. Let's get to my 5 games.
All right, let's do it.
Chat's saying break it up.
No.
Jeff.
All right,
hit me.
let's do that.
We got 5 more games, and these ones fall under Derek. So we got Nier Automata,
Yeah.
The Evil Within 2, Ace Combat, and The Outer Wilds, and Spiritfarer.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start?
I don't know, but those two.
How many
those
of these
Derek-
games did nobody else play but me? That's the first
you
question.
No, I played Nier and The Evil Within 2.
Well,
Come on.
and Ace Combat 7's a maybe for some people, but like,
Maybe let's start with Spiritfarer. Did anyone other than Derek play Spiritfarer?
Nope.
all
I heard
right,
it's amazing though.
Nier.
that's we'll get to Nier because everybody has shit to say about Nier.
Get that
Spiritfarer,
wine ready,
it
Brittany.
is a crime that none of y'all played Spiritfarer. I am saying this
What are
now.
you talking about?
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yes. We interviewed them at PAX.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
did
did
the
you guys do
demo.
a PAX interview with them?
We did. We
They
did.
were
I
delightful.
didn't
The
remember
game
if
is
you would.
amazing.
I know me and Reb talked about it some in DMs. I don't ever remember talking to you about the full game.
because
So
it was on Game Pass.
yeah, exactly. So I played it on Game Pass for PC. But Spiritfarer is such a lovely game. It is a game that made me. I will tell you, I hit the ugly cry point, and I mean ugly cry. Not like I had a few little tears that I wiped away, but just full blown fucking snot in my mustache, like
Wait, did you slurp the snot up? Is that what you're trying to say?
Like that point, like
You're all
4
too pretty to have an ugly
separate
cry.
times.
Oh, I
Oh
have
no,
cried.
I'm so pretty.
Derek,
I can
no,
only have an
no.
ugly cry.
Derek, she's got a point. You are very pretty. Like you're
I-
way too
Everybody.
pretty to have an
Everybody on this podcast can
I
get
have
it.
a very ugly cry.
That's what I'm talking. Brittany's
I'm
not
just
wrong.
letting you
Like,
know. The cry is as ugly as I am not. But
ain't nothing ugly about you, son.
Spiritfarer it made me just flat out snotty cry like 4 separate times. And that's not counting the times where something made me emotional to the point that like I got the tears welling up that I wiped away and then stoically continued forward. It is so Spiritfarer's whole shit is that it's about death. It's about all these different characters and the ways that their life comes to an end, and about you helping them come to terms kind of with the way that their life is ending and ferrying them to the other side, because you are effectively kind of the death, of this world. And it is in a lot of the same ways that like Edith Finch hits you over and over again. Spiritfarer is going to hit you with these characters' stories your car on, exactly. Over and over again. And at least one of these character stories is going to remind you of how somebody that you loved very dearly passed, and the way that their ends of their lives went, and you are going to fucking bawl.
See, I'm not sure.
And it's healthy. It's
Derek.
good, because by the
would
end
hit
you
you,
are
John.
cleansed and you are whole. It's very
Derek, can I actually say why I didn't play this game? Because I
Yes.
knew it would fuck me up so bad. So this game came out a week or so after my grandmother died.
good. Yeah.
The main character has the same name as my grandmother. I'm like, I read that and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to wait on this one. It was one that looks it was a game that looked super great, but I was like, I don't think I'm mentally prepared for this one right now. So I'm glad it's on this list because I've heard great things about it. I was looking forward to it, but I had to sit it out for the time being.
It's going to hit you very deeply when you play it. I don't think it's possible unless you are completely dead inside, which, to be fair, many of us are against our will at this point. But it's a truly beautiful game that will cut very deep into you, and you are going to have that kind of cry that you feel better at the end of somehow. Like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've already talked about that like twice tonight.
Yeah. As somebody who almost lost their mom to cancer, that was a very parts of it hit very fucking close and deep for me. But anyway, Finn, you played. I don't know what you've got to add.
Oh, you nailed it. This is a game that will wreck you and then rebuild you.
Yeah.
You leave this game feeling whole.
Yeah.
Like,
So can I ask a question about this real quick?
Yeah.
As somebody who has lingering issues about whether or not I could have saved my buddy Joel,
Yes.
is this something I
Play
really
it.
need to play?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's about coming to terms with death of all different kinds and all different situations and the reality of it. And it's about not taking responsibility or ownership for other people's life, but rather kind of acknowledging that it's happening and it is what it is. And I do not think that there is any. It is designed for people who had those kind of traumatic either losses or close calls. It is not something that's going to hit you and make you feel bad about a loss that you had in your family or close friends. So I think it is one of the most well put together games in that regard that handles loss. So
I'll have to add it to my list then.
yeah. So let's move to a game.
Are we going
that
to
I
talk
think
about
more of
Nier
us-
now?
So here's the thing.
We'll save it. We got.
Let's save
we got
Nier for
lots
the
to say
fifth
about
one,
that.
Poor
because
fucking Brittany just
No!
wants a glass of wine.
Please do Nier now, please.
Nier will
I've been
cap
waiting-
out the episode. It's
No.
that's what it deserves, I think.
Please do Nier now, please.
Evil Within 2. Who else here played
Brittany,
Evil Within
it's
2?
not here. It's far. It's the last one.
Oh, man, shut the
Evil Within 2 was one of the games that I nominated for our Games of the Generation. Who else here played Evil Within 2?
I did. I loved Evil
Justin,
Within
why
2.
don't
I
you
watched you
start?
play it.
So the first Evil Within was a really cool game, but it was one of those games that like it was messy. let's just say that. Evil Within 2 was so much more polished. And like I think it had just a much more clear like emotional through line, as well as, you know, more kind of gameplay variety. And just well, first off, it looked like a game that was supposed to come out this decade. It ran decently. The first game was really rough in those compartments, but like it did a really good job of like there was like full on open world sections, but like they still did a really good job with like scares and tension and pacing. It's just a really, really cool game. I really dug it.
Yeah, I feel like if Evil Within 1 was very clearly inspired by Resident Evil 4, Evil Within 2 was almost like Silent Hill 2, right? Like it definitely drew more inspiration from Silent Hill in terms of its structure and aesthetic. It is written. I mean, that's the other thing is it's written so well. You take this. I've been over this on the podcast before. I'm not going to repeat the entire fucking sales pitch, but it takes a game and a character that were very generic action horror. Sebastian Castellanos in Evil Within 1 is literally not a character. He's just badass Mick Coolvest with his gun. Like, and then Evil Within 2
it's a real cool vest though.
It is a cool ass vest.
Just for the record.
But then Evil Within 2 goes, hey, what happens if you take somebody and you put them through the shit that Evil Within 1 was? And it's a very realistic portrayal of breakdown of post-traumatic stress disorder, and the process by which somebody recovers from not really recovers from PTSD, but like kind of comes to terms with it and adapts to it and learns how to live with it and push through certain elements of it. Like it's very respectful of that subject with him. You know, and just the story with him and his family is actually very well told. It's very rare for a sad dad game to not be a generic sad dad game in a lot of ways in terms of that plot, but like the fact that Sebastian's got a reverse sad dad thing going on. He starts as the like I was a sad dad, and then it's all towards building towards actually like reuniting with the daughter and rebuilding that relationship with the daughter.
And getting your shit back together.
So, Derek, can I just say that like the parts when you're running from anima are some of the scariest shit I have fucking encountered this entire generation.
Yeah, it's
like,
a scary fucking game.
The fucking photographer sections.
See, the photographer sections didn't really bother me. It was anima that fucked me up.
They're not scary, but they're so cool. Like the art design of the Evil Within is.
Did you guys
is like it's really distinct and I love it. Like it feels very unique, even though it draws from so many key horror franchises.
Did anybody who played the Evil Within 2 ever come across the secret scene you get, the secret Easter egg scene you get if you where they reference the actual game in a conversation, Sebastian and the cop? Did you see that? Justin, Derek, did you see that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a very specific sequence of events that you have to do. And if you do them properly and you go back and you talk to that guy who's in your hideout, I can't remember his name, they have a conversation that you wouldn't see otherwise. And the guy says, I'm not going back out there. It's fucking evil out there. And Sebastian says, yeah, but there's evil within too. And they both do this.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, they look right at the camera.
Oh, I hate it.
It's a Superman 4 Quest for Peace moment, and it's beautiful.
I'll say this much though, like as much as I love the game, like Sebastian runs like I do when I'm 4 miles into a 5 miler and I gotta poop real bad. and he's just like he's doing that little half walk, half run thing where he's clenching his cheeks real tight, and he's just like, oh god, I'm gonna get
Is this where you wanted to go when you talked about
And
Evil
it really-
Eric?
it brings back a lot of bad memories.
To be fair,
Only
Jeff
way
didn't want to
John
talk
knows
about
how to,
cat butts
like,
either, but
compare things.
I'm just saying, it's a little too real for me.
John just
now,
needs to
please.
Not
John
yet.
just needs to talk about his buttholes.
Absolutely.
That's really what
we
we've
need to
learned
go
tonight.
deeper. We need to go deeper.
No,
on
we
that.
We're
don't.
issuing
Gotta-
a decree. There will be no butthole talk on this.
Got to go
podcast.
Thank
deeper
you.
on the butthole puckers.
The only thing I have to add is that I played like an hour or two of the first Evil Within, and it was one of the worst times I've ever had with a game. And I wholeheartedly believe that the sequel is night and day, tears and tears beyond the first game.
Oh Jesus, yes. Like that's not
But
not even
it-
The
close.
first few chapters of the first Evil Within are
yeah,
bizarre, to say the
Well,
least.
it put me off the series, and
The
I really
entire
struggle.
game is.
I find it really hard to jump into sequels without playing their predecessors. It's just like a
and
thing that I
admittedly,
have. Like
Evil Within 2
I don't want
works.
to play something without having the full context.
Evil
for it,
Within
so
2 works so
I
much
think one day
better.
I will eventually give the second game a shot and,
Yeah.
and just try it. But
But the thing is, Evil
I mean,
Within
most
2
of the story
it's
for
a
the
shame
first-
that the first game maybe soured some.
Evil
people
Within
on
2
it.
works so much better if you've played Evil Within 1. That's one of the that's the one unfortunate downside. Like there's literally an entire chunk of the game that is this big awesome like fuck yes, the actual fuck yes moment you've been waiting most of the game for the narrative to flip in Sebastian's favor, and it's based on him re-experiencing certain key like the most memorable moments in the original game, but taking control of them in a way that he did not have before, and basically ripping ass through a series of unstoppable bosses from the original game. Like,
Why do we keep talking about ass? and
because
buttholes?
he runs like he's got to poop. That's why he's ripping ass.
So yeah, the kind of one thing that's kind of tough too about Evil Within 1 is like a good portion of the actual story is in the DLC. Like
Yeah.
the main, you don't really know what the main narrative of Evil Within 1 is unless you play the DLC.
Yeah,
Great.
so
Love that.
So
The DLC is way better than the main game
Yes.
though. So
So near.
Nier is coming because it's gonna close out the episode.
we're getting near.
Yeah.
We're getting near, Brittany. Don't worry about it. We're getting near.
All
That's
right.
gonna be a long discussion.
I know. Yeah, well, I know. Ace Combat 7. Did anyone else? Has anyone else here played Ace Combat in general?
This is where I
Okay.
check out.
I got
I've never played a
next.
single one.
Fuck you, John. I don't know what's wrong with you that you haven't played an Ace
John.
Combat game. These games are so fucking
Support.
good, and I'm going to strap you to the front of a fucking A10 Warthog.
Hilarious is that the
Holy
Ace Combat
shit.
games are so up
That's-
John's alley plot.
You would love these
Such a
games.
strong reaction from Derek.
John, you would love
I was like,
these
I've never played a
games.
single one. Fuck you, John. Like, wow.
John loved
Okay,
this
holy
game,
shit.
and it's hilarious that he's making fun of it when if he
I'm
played
not
one.
making fun of it. I just said I've
No.
never played it.
But you should. It's just Air Force JRPGs. It's the
I've heard these games are like would actually be really up my alley narratively.
Yeah.
I should really check them
You
out.
would. It's really
real
weird,
quick.
sci-fi kind of really weird JRPG style story. Like it's just weird, but it's
Hey,
super cool.
Real quick, Derek, before you go on, can I just give a shout out to everybody in chat who stuck with us so far for 2
Yeah.
hours and 20
I
minutes?
know. Yo,
Like,
we're not
and-
finishing the show tonight, Jeff. I'm sorry,
For
bub.
real.
we're not powering
We're
through.
not.
Really?
We're
I want to
not,
give a
Brit.
special shout out to
Sorry.
the people who rated us and are still here. We must be doing something right. We
Yeah.
appreciate you
We're
guys.
closing out with Nier, and we're coming back next week with part 2, and me and John on the same camera,
On the
y'all.
same camera. I'm gonna look.
Yeah. So but Ace Combat 7, I remember getting to review it. And Ace Combat 7, I was really worried Ace Combat was in not a great spot. The PS2 trilogy was like peak fucking gaming period. Ace Combat 4, 5, and 0. 6 was solid. Then we had Assault Horizon, which was kind of a mess. And then the series disappeared for a while, like a long ass time. And 7, like, could be good, could not be. Turns out it's not only maybe the best Ace Combat game if you take off the PS2 nostalgia blinders, but it's just packed with love and like lore payoffs for that PS2 trilogy. Like if you loved Ace Combat before, 7 is 7 is everything you wanted. And if you're new to the series, it's still very approachable, and it's easily the best gameplay wise the series has ever been. I just love that blend of like, it's sort of realistic flying, but it's not trying to be a simulator. It's got just enough arcadey gameplay elements to it. Finn, hit me with some Ace Combat love.
Shit is
It's a game where the core gameplay loop is tight and good, but you go because of the batshit insane Metal Gear JRPG story in the skies. It's got so much heart to it though, and that is what a lot of people don't understand. You get a real sense of satisfaction when you get a lock on an enemy, but you get an even more satisfaction when you get that next cutscene and you get the chatter and they're like, yeah, and you're like, yeah, and you just it's like it's an interesting thing you say that, because the entire PS3 360 era didn't really do the franchise justice. So when you mentioned the PS2 nostalgia blinders, I mean, that is where the crowning achievements before 7 existed.
Yeah, that
But
trilogy
now we're
is
here.
the series. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just deep. And I'm sorry, but some of the shit, like that's the thing. You pick up Ace Combat 7 expecting you're going to be planes fighting planes, and then they get into weird plots around fucking drones, and then sci-fi fucking super carriers start dropping out of the sky and fucking releasing like feathers that turn into drones, and you're like, oh, this game fucks. Like, this is wild.
And you know,
this is wild as shit.
Chat mentioned JPEG Dog, which is
Dog.png is great. Dog.png is my friend, and I don't care what anyone says.
I've heard a couple clips of music from this game, and the
music from
rules.
Ace Combat is some of the best in
amazing.
gaming. It's so good. It's
So
so
I-
good.
I bought it on PC. I actually, surprisingly, I thought I'd be good at this game because I play Flight Simulator, but like I got stuck on like the 4th or 5th mission, and I just didn't have the motivation to keep going. So unfortunately, I had to tap out probably only 3 or 4 hours into the game. But I did assist Derek with the review. I had a PSVR at the time, and I was fortunate enough to be able to play the PSVR missions in the game. So I will speak to that and say that there was a lot of great games I played on PSVR, like Superhot's a standout, but Ace Combat 7 was probably, when I think back to my experience with that system and that that type of gameplay, I remember Ace Combat 7. It's so transformative because the dogfighting in the game, when I played it on my PC with a controller, I'm trying to like move the sticks to like figure out where the enemies are on screen, but I literally can't express how intuitive and beneficial it is to be able to, like, you're trying to bank your plane a hard left, but you can just move your head and look, and you can just keep your eyes focused on wherever the other planes are, and it really helps you center that. And like the feeling of like just being in the sky and dropping down or lifting off, like that sense of like that lurch in your stomach. Fortunately I didn't get nauseous, but the adrenaline I experienced in that game was just something else, and I absolutely love it. So it sucks that you couldn't play the whole campaign in VR, but they had, I think, 3 or 4 missions dedicated to it, and they were absolutely top notch. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Ace Combat 7 is and I mean, like I said, the franchise did see kind of a revival with it. Ace Combat 7 did pretty well, but like if you've never played an Ace Combat game, is worth checking out. Like it's a pretty cool fucking franchise, and 7 is a very safe point to jump into.
And with that, that's our show.
But
Yeah, no more games.
no, we got 2 more.
Actually,
We got
there's-
1 more, and
there's
then
2
here.
more
We got
games.
one and then here. Outer Wilds is another one that I'm pretty sure only I played, right?
I haven't played it.
I bought it. I played like 20 minutes of it, and I didn't get a chance
I
to
have
finish
not. I
it.
have not.
The
played it.
We have
Outer-
to clear this up. Which one is Outer Wilds?
The Outer Wilds is not Outer Worlds, which is the spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas. The Outer Wilds is a very cool, weird indie title where you play and have to explore this universe and figure out this. It's Groundhog Day, but No Man's Sky. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, but it is a tremendously, I'm gonna keep this one short because none of y'all played it and I don't want to spoil too much. It's tremendously satisfying. It scratches a lot of the same itches as like classic adventure games did, but it's a little less obtuse. Like there's a computer that gives you a lot of hints in the spaceship as to where things connect together to help you figure out what other things you should be checking out. I really love the way every planet transforms over the course of the time loop. Like you have, for example, one planet with a black hole in the center that is fully intact at the start of the time loop, but as time goes on, starts to crumble apart and pieces of it fall into the black hole and get shot out the other side of the white hole somewhere else in the universe. So you end up with this growing debris field. You got another planet or pair of planets that revolve around each other called the Hourglass Twins. And one of them is the Ash Twin, and one of them is the Ember Twin. And one of them's covered in sand, and the other one is just a big rocky set of caves. And over time, all of the sand from one ends up moving onto the other, which fills up the caves on the first planet, but exposes stuff on the second planet. So the way you approach the time loop is very cool. And just the ending of that game, when the game was over, it got surprisingly plot heavy at the end and surprisingly emotional. That game left me completely devastated. I mean, I sat and stared at my desktop screen with nothing on it for 30 goddamn minutes, just recovering from what I'd been through. And it's always good when an indie game can do that to you.
Exactly.
Okay. Brittany. Nier Automata.
Here we go. Oh,
Where-
man.
Yes.
This is what I was waiting for.
Nier Automata, which
Yes.
we all fucking knew was going to be on this list.
Don't spoil it for me because
No.
I haven't beaten it
No,
yet.
absolutely not.
Wait,
How far are you?
Don't worry about it. Just talk about the game.
Patience.
Nier Automata is the rare example of a game that is as horny as it is without being a shit game. That's not why it's good. I just think it's very important to note that they nailed that particular part. It's a great, approachable action game. It is a really cool story. It has a really cool, sort of weirdly, hopefully depressing tone. I don't know really how else to describe it. Like,
It takes everything.
it's melancholy but optimistic.
It takes
Yeah.
everything that you know about action JRPGs and subverts it.
yeah.
It's melancholy but silly. Like
Yeah.
it's like the
It's true,
side quests make it like not feel so like
It has-
dooming.
It has some of the best boss fights in the industry, hands down.
Fantastic
like-
music.
Oh god, the music!
Oh, the music
the
is-
music alone
Music
just
is so fucking good. Like no, like
And it's one of those games that I think just gets in your head. Like when I first started playing it, I'm like, all right, this is fun. This is, cool art style. I like Platinum games, nothing really special. And then the weirdness kicks up and things start getting stranger and more existential. And then by the end of the game, like the fifth time I see the credits rolling, I'm singing along with the music, like tears in my eyes, triumphantly as I go along. Like this is a game that strings you along unlike anything else I've ever played.
it's fucking okay. All right, let's talk about
Let's talk about the
Nier
robot fuck
Automata.
pit. Let's
Here,
talk
let's
about the
talk-
amusement park. Let's talk about mooses. Meese?
Meese.
Moosei?
So when you
Moose.
first,
It's just moose.
So if you haven't played this game,
Oh.
when you first dive into it, it's this very dark, dreary. Humanity's like dead. You're going in to try to save it. Like there's like it's just 100% serious. Like it's just this powerful game. You get to the end of the tutorial. You fucking die as far as you know, right? Right?
Right?
Like as far as you
Yeah.
know,
Right. Yeah.
then you're a robot, so obviously you come back to life, and then it just goes fucking nuts. Like, nobody told me there was going to be robots fucking. Like, nobody told me that there was going to
Nobody
be a
told you you'd
robot
see
parade.
toy CVS ass $2
Why-
bin wind up toys banging their
Why would you not? Why
brains
would you?
out.
You should always. It's Yoko Taro. You should always
Like-
expect robots.
Like, and like, I didn't even realize robots were fucking. I didn't even realize until I died and I went back in and I was like, these robots are fucking raw dogging. They're doing a doggy style, y'all. Like, this
Wang of
isn't
those little
this isn't
featureless-
just normal robot behavior. Like, they're not just like cradling a baby. Like, they're straight on making babies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're
Or
fucking. They're
futilely
fucking,
trying to. It's
They
such a,
are.
Nier Automata is so good at feeling unsettling in one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, even though, like, we joke about the robots banging thing,
It's
but
either
like,
depressing
when
or
you-
way too
when you
fucking
get to
sexual,
that
especially when
point-
you could see the character's booty.
but when you get, well, that's a separate thing. But you get to the pit where the weird little soda can robots are fucking, and
Yes!
you go, hang the fuck on. What? It's not even funny.
don't-
It's upsetting.
be
You're
ashamed.
like, what
Don't
the
be ashamed.
fuck? What
You're
the
bad.
fuck?
Like, you're like, I don't understand what's going on.
even soda can robots need love.
I don't give a shit
Not
if
like
they
this,
need love. I
John.
want to know what's happening.
Not like
Why
this.
are they making love?
It's like, you know, look, here's the thing. Like, if you were a soda can robot, would you not want to fuck? It's like, you know, that's all they got
I
going. for them.
don't know because I'm
soda
not a
can
robot.
Like, they're soda can robots. Like, you know, they've got to take what pleasure they can. Their existence is probably miserable.
You know
also
what?
can.
I love
My
the,
favorite thing
You go.
about Nier is that the robots are just as thirsty as me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
no,
like-
Ricky, they're thirstier than you, and you're pretty fucking.
I
thirsty.
bet. Well,
But the character
fair.
dynamic
But-
between 2B and 9S early on is very
9S.
fun.
Yeah.
And then you beat the game and then you restart and play it over again from 9S's perspective, and it's a very different playthrough before you get to it. You're not it's okay. It's fine.
I didn't know that.
It's fine. The second playthrough
That's
you play
one
is
of
fine.
5 endings
job,
you need to get. Don't
Garrett.
worry about it.
Yeah. But
So the one thing I
9S
love, like, I'm just gonna say the one thing I love about 9S is he's trying to convince you,
He's
like,
such a
these
bitch.
robots don't have feelings. They don't matter, and it's like they're fucking and they're making
and they're
babies,
crying
like,
and they're
"Hey,
begging
something's
for their
happening,
lives and
9S."
defending their friends, and he's like, no, this is totally just like
Look,
they're
don't
just
worry about it.
imitating.
Don't
they're-
worry about it.
They don't have
Look,
feelings,
just because
whatever.
Robots are fucking.
Do you
just
know
because robots
what?
are fucking doesn't mean they have
The
feelings.
first playthrough of Nier Automata is honestly a really good story about dehumanization and the fucking modern military in a lot of ways. Because you're fucking invading their space, and it's just like, they don't have they're less than us, whatever. This is all fake. They're not real.
He's an
It's
asshole.
fine. Yeah, 9S a straight up bitch. But yeah, so Nier
He's kind of an incel, to be honest.
he's a
with
super incel for fucking sure.
you. He really is.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, Nier Automata is
It has great music. The combat it's wonky. But it's not bad. Like it's fun once you realize what you're doing. My third biggest complaint is that, like, you pick up side quests and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you don't know if you're doing like a level like 10 or a level 50 side
Yeah,
quest
that's a
until
little-
you're
yeah,
actually
that's a
fucking
problem.
doing it.
I agree. But that's a fair criticism. It really is.
yeah.
And like, can we also just say that, like, as much as I love the game, the map is ass. The game's map is just pure.
The game makes jokes about how there's literally a character that makes a joke about how
Yeah.
bad the map in this game is.
so bad. Like,
But why couldn't the map just be good?
it's
Yeah.
not even funny.
Oh,
like,
I don't
like,
like that.
I know.
It literally is. It's just bad, so that one NPC can make
Yeah.
that one joke.
Nier
And they
Automata-
literally-
joke, and I was like, ha ha ha, Yoko Taro. But why did you make the map bad? Like,
But why
I
do?
mean,
But why do?
but this map is fucking useless.
Nier
He's just
Automata
giving you
is
the
such
finger
a
guns, like,
just a
hey.
It's just a big blotch of slightly darker tan than the UI. Like that's what the map is. It tells you fucking
Nier
nothing.
Automata is just such a weird combination of incredible things and shit that doesn't work, but you put up with and is somehow endearing and charming.
Yes.
And then
Yes!
stuff that honestly
It's antagonistic in a way.
Yeah, and then
like
stuff-
there's some stuff that's legitimately antagonistic.
Yeah, and then stuff that like like it's weird to talk. Like, look, it's unavoidable how horny this game is, but a lot of games are gross and creepy horny, and Nier Automata's like in a weird space where it's kind of
so
just
horny almost.
it's just like a baseline level of like, yeah, what you gonna do? Like, we got a fucking robot bitch in a maid outfit. We got a robot twink in a blindfold over here. Like, you know,
It was kind of funny because like when somebody pointed out just how like sexed up the character designs are, it kind of had gone over my head because I just think they're generally cool looking designs.
They are
too.
cool-ass
Like
designs.
they're not just like traditional turn boob slider all the way to the right kind of like
Yeah,
anime
that's the real-
sexy
that's the-
design.
but I'm
Right.
sorry,
Right.
9S is absolute.
He's an
twink,
incel.
twink bait.
He's
He's
an
an
incel.
incel.
He's sus.
You want to hate top him is what you want to do. He's
Like,
he's
ooh.
look 9S. I hate to break it to you, bud. Like completely just that it's 9S's design is horny, and many of you don't recognize that because you don't look with horny goggles at men.
I definitely look at with horny goggles, and I
Yeah.
do not see that.
You want to hate top him.
Okay,
don't
so
know.
I have to address this in chat because I've played all five. I've gotten all 5 of the major endings, and I was not aware of this. Apparently, there's an achievement for looking up 2B's skirt 10 times, enough to annoy her.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I'm
Look,
not
Yoko,
liking
look,
that.
look.
I'm not liking that.
Yoko Taro's
Like,
That's
It's not all
That's
good.
just Yoko.
It's not
bad.
all good. It's not all good. But
Yoko, I'm not a fan.
but
also-
we already addressed this.
you get to watch 2 fucking batteries.
Wait, Derek, how does that work? Derek, bring that up. Derek, bring that a little closer to the camera. Bring that a little closer to the camera. Let's get a good look at that. This is not safe for work, by
We're
the
gonna
way.
get banned from Twitch.
This is not safe for work.
Nier Automata is just a weird ass game.
And that's a wrap, everybody.
But that's
Somebody
such
get
a
that.
defining game of the generation that it's so weird and it's so everything and everybody has
Oh,
every
God.
opinion at once about this game. And I think that's impossible to deny. Like, it's magnetic in that weird way. So
Game everything aside, the game is just visually appealing. If you like JRPGs or you grew up with anime, like you're immediately drawn to this game because this is the type of like design that is immediately made for like the anime weeb, right? Like you immediately are just like drawn to it. So initially I was drawn to Nier, but the gameplay is what initially like drove me away from, because it's not super easy to learn. Like, right? Like you use health packs, like it's not like new player friendly. So the first time I played this game, and I've said this before, I went to the first boss of the first area, no saves, and I fucking died. So I had to an hour of gameplay, I had to redo it. But once you get past that part, it's a fun, wild, silly game, and it's like I haven't beat it yet. I'm still playing it, but I definitely it's a game that it's just visually appealing. Booties.
Yeah, there's just so many like silly, clever things. Like I love that like you can go into the menu and you can straight up unequip like your consciousness module, and that's a game over
sorry, but-
immediately if you
I'm
you
do
can
sorry,
just
it.
uninstall brain.
My consciousness
Yeah.
module was
You can
uninstalled
delete System
when I saw
32.
2 AA batteries fucking on Derek's camera. Like my consciousness module has already been uninstalled. We need to end this shit.
Yeah, we there's
We've
nothing
gone on
more
long
to
enough.
say about fucking Nier. I mean,
it's
You know,
gotta-
So I'll throw it back to John in a second. We just spent 20 fucking minutes talking about Nier.
That's why I was
Damn
afraid
it.
to bring it up.
We've been going for 2.5 hours and we're barely halfway through.
So we're gonna let's finish this up next week.
So, you know, the remaining questions, will John find a way to sneak Final Fantasy VI onto this list?
Absolutely.
Will the Quiet Man be number 1? Find out next time on Dragon Ball
Fuck.
Z.
Yeah.
So we've got and somebody clipped the battery fucking.
So
there
next
you go.
next week is a big week for us. Okay, we're
Yes.
gonna continue. We're gonna finish Games of the Generation. We're pulling an it here. Okay, this is Games of the Generation
Chapter
part
2.
1, and we're gonna do part 2 next week.
Should I wear clown makeup for it? Like
no.
fake makeup?
If
for
you bring
chapter 2?
clown makeup into my
Absolutely, I
house,
will
John,
not join.
To be
You
fair, John,
will
based
get
on your choices, yes.
damn.
You got clowned.
Wow.
Damn.
Finn.
Wow.
So next
Gotta
week,
respect- I gotta respect
next
it. I got a
week-
game recognized game.
John, next week we will be finishing
Shit.
Games of the Generation show next Thursday, and then Extra Life. This is a big deal, y'all. Once a year, we do that 24-hour charity stream. Actually, John and I will be doing one on the official SDGC account, and then
Same
Finn-
couch.
Yeah, and then Finn will be doing one on his own account, which we will also link and promote on our Twitter page and on the show, so that you all know to look for both. John and I will actually be doing a pre-show on Friday. So just next
Super
week is
Robot
gonna
Wars
be
5.
yeah, next week's gonna be big.
Yeah.
It's
I will just say
So what?
that I don't know what games you guys are playing, but one of the games we're playing is Baldur's Gate 3, where chat makes every choice.
oh wow. We're gonna do our pre-show is gonna be Super Robot Wars V, just to test out our setup. And then the day of, this is it, y'all. The day
Jesus
of,
Christ.
we're gonna play Left Alive until
God.
we beat it. Okay, it's roughly
Play the
Oh,
snake
no!
game again.
it's roughly a 10-hour game, so we will beat it. Then we're gonna play PT. I've never played PT, so
I
I'm gonna
can't
play
wait for that.
PT
Ooh.
from
Oh.
fresh
Derek, you have
eyes.
to play PT.
I
I'm
can't
going
wait.
to, and that's gonna be our
I can't
palate
wait.
cleanser after terrible Left Alive.
This is going to be good.
Yes.
No, but then
Then, again, after about 11, 12 hours of streaming, depending on how timing works out, we'll have beaten Left Alive. PT will have cleansed our palate. Then, Metal Gear Survive. And we will be
Oh.
playing Metal Gear Survive until the stream is done.
I don't know if I'm gonna fucking survive. Like,
You know, shout out to Maddie. Maddie really liked Metal Gear Survive.
I've actually
He
heard
was the
Metal Gear
only one.
Survive is mixed. It's not universally hated like Left Alive. So we
Oh,
may
Finn,
find stuff
you
to like.
No.
bastard.
Hold
Finn.
on. Finn has the collector's edition.
She has the collector's
Of
edition of
Left
every
Alive.
fucking game we bring up. Just accept it.
Really, Finn?
God,
Really?
you have to understand.
It was a front
Wow.
mission game. I don't blame him for
Defend yourself.
trying.
Finn, please
you
tell
have
me
to
you got that on
understand,
It was the
clearance.
last front mission
Please
game.
tell me you didn't pre-order it.
How much did you pay for
Front
that?
mission was literally
Okay, so this
not
was a
left
Square
alive.
Enix store exclusive. You could only get it, and
So
Oh,
how
why
much
would
did you pay for it?
that's not important.
How much did you pay
How
for
much
the
did you pay
Left
for it?
Alive
What's
mech
important
edition?
No,
Because it came
no,
with
Finn.
the steelbook.
Finn, how much did you pay for it?
Steelbook.
Finn,
US
how much did you pay
dollars.
for it?
Finn?
US dollars. How much?
I
Finn.
don't remember. I'm looking it up right now.
Oh,
Guys, this part
bullshit.
really is not important, and we've got to get going before I fall asleep.
All right,
on
let's
the
get out of here.
keyboard.
Yes.
So, yeah, please don't forget Extra Life next week. Me and Derek, same room. I'm driving 10 hours to be there. We're going to be streaming games and raising money for a good cause, and Finn's going to be doing the same thing. We will be back next week with our with part 2.
$150 US.
You sad man. God, you got fucking fleeced. You got fucking hosed, my man.
When you make Justin laugh, that's saying something.
Wow. And wow.
I laugh.
Wow.
This isn't
I
even
laugh.
No, I
content
know, but
anymore. We
laugh
gotta
in like
go.
disappointment.
Just a perfect mocking manner. So, and by the way, shout out to the people who rated us and stuck around and followed and joined the Discord. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank
on
you
this
so much.
hell night
And-
of all nights.
Absolutely. And with that, remember, kindness costs nothing. We'll see you next week.